I met a gypsy.
Sick. I think we're doing it, bro. We're finally making
Sweet.
the Colby Raha Gypsy Tales chapter happening, and I'm pumped.
Hell yeah. Yeah, me too, man. It's been a long time talking about this, and yeah, I've watched all your show and stuff. It's sweet.
When do you think the first time was that we did talk about doing this? Because it was a while ago now.
Oh, for what?
Like, when do you think the first time we actually spoke about doing this? Because it was a hot minute.
I'm sure it's in the DM somewhere, you know. But I think it was actually after last year's X Games, the first year at Slayground. I think we were talking about doing one then. And then, I don't know, just busy, you know. You're busy, whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, it's sweet that we got it lined up.
So, and good timing too. Like I always say these things happen kind of like when they're supposed to happen, I feel like. And then you've just finished Narnia, which I got almost all the way through last night. I was trying to get it fully done by the time we did this. But man, congrats on an epic movie.
Yeah, thank you. What part did you end at?
Dude, Scranny pretty much. Like I just kind of, and then I think, so it goes Scranny and then the Portland maybe it was the Portland section where you rode at Burnside. And then like the little kind of street bit after that.
So you saw a lot of stuff, but the ending is the most insane part where I go for the long distance jump. Yeah, dude. You got to watch that. I basically just backside it and just demolish myself. Like it's so bad. I broke my pelvis like 3 spots, tore my labrum, my whole shoulder apart, and broke one of the vertebrae in my back, and just super gnarly.
Fuck, I'm spewing. I mean, all right, I'm gonna have to watch that at the end of this.
But at then, if you watch the movie, you know? Like, yeah, and then if you watch the movie, you'll see like we basically put it all together, and I come back and go for it again. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
dude. I mean, I think one of the cool things, like, I went into it thinking that it was like pretty much just a profile pic on you, but it seems like you really took it upon yourself to kind of like make a video or a film for the culture of freeriding. I mean, you had everybody in it. You hit everybody's spot, and like it seems like everybody got their shine. And dude, that to me was super dope about the film.
Yeah, thank you. We basically just started out filming for Real Moto in the year that me and Jay won, and we had leftover footage, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about making a movie? He's like, dude, I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. It's going to be a long road. And I'm like, well, I'm ready. Let's do it, And then it was just cool to have Josh Hill, Tyler Bierman, Jared McNeil, a bunch of the guys, Scranny, Jason Broski, they all wanted to be a part of it, and we kind of just let them do their own thing, and I was able to ride with all of them. And yeah, it's a movie about me on like my quest to go do long distance jumping, but at the same time, it's kind of a movie about like modern day free riding and like a lot of urban stuff, a lot of unseen stuff from a lot of the riders, including myself. And yeah, it's crazy what we pulled off, and it's cool to have a movie that has so much footage that's been unseen. Like no one's posted anything, I haven't, and that's kind of what's cool is like now the movie's done, I'm able to go out and make new content and like do YouTubes and start kind of getting back out into like making my own content.
Yeah, because that's kind of the challenge these days, and I feel like the films really died with the advent of social media, because it just became about how quick can you post the clip that you've just got, and like you're almost posting everything in real time, which I think it's dope in one sense. There's such like a crazy level of engagement that you can get with fans, and there's a way that you can really build a fan base. But then I think about, especially for me, and dude, we're pretty similar in age. We would have grown up watching the exact same things and like waited every year for that Krusty Demons DVD to hit the shelves, and then it was like, I remember sitting down with my dad and my uncle and my brother and all the boys and the kids from school would come over. Whoever was the first to get the Krusty Demons DVD or a Nitro Circus DVD or a Great Outdoors or an On the Pipe, there was something super special about that. And I think that's that's culture, you know, and we kind of did lose that. And I got that same vibe when I watched Narnia.
Yeah, that's like always been a dream. One of my dreams was to make a movie, you know, and it all came together and I was able to do it. So, of course, I took the opportunity to do it. And it's been an insane amount of work, effort, time, financial stuff, just crazy. But yeah, going back to like, I remember I was probably like 12 when Nitro Circus DVDs were coming out, and they came out right on Christmas. So that was like one of
Yeah.
my Christmas presents in my stocking. And it was like, all right, after presents, we're popping in the new one because like we heard Travis did something crazy, and you'd see like in the intro double backflip coming around, and it wasn't a thing. And we're like, no way, you know. I just remember. And then I was a kid growing up. Steel Roots 2 was like my favorite movie. I just could memorize the Offspring songs when I was like 5 years old or something. So yeah, movies are awesome, and to get the chance to pull that whole project off with Jay from On the Pipe series has been it's been a roller coaster, but it's been insane, man. And I'm happy with the overall product. You know, the end product is, I think it's great. It's better than what I would have ever imagined we could have pulled off. So
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you probably won't want to admit this, but I feel like it kind of, I don't know, it gave me the vibe that like, oh, Colby Raha's the dude. Like, he's the leader of this generation, and he's the one that's willing to, you know, pull everything together. And I mean, I think that's super cool. And I think even the way that, like, your writing as well is, you've got all of these guys, like you got Broski and Scranny that are doing like their thing in the streets, which is super unique. And then you've got like Berriman, which is just, he's the guy that's going to go absolutely huge. And then you've got, you know, McNeil and those guys. But you're kind of dipping into all of those different disciplines and being on that same level. And to me, I think it was obviously your film, but I feel like this really made you come across as like, damn, Raha's like the leader of like this wave. And I don't know if you think in yourself in that way. And I don't think it's arrogant to think in that way. I think it's good to want to be a leader. Like, I mean, I think that leadership is something that a lot of like people should aspire to have in general. But yeah, I don't know if it like came across, or if you feel like that and you feel like you've got like I don't know, you owe it to the culture to like push it forward in a sense.
I mean, I always love doing the real moto stuff and going big and doing like some of the crazy urban stunt stuff. And I think the part of taking on the project of a movie, you don't really take on the project with like thinking you're going to go out and do cool free riding and that's going to be the movie. I think when I took on the project, it's like, hold on a second. We're making a movie, and in the movie there needs to be stuff worth making a movie about, like breaking records, flipping the biggest dirt jump of all time, and then getting into long distance jumping. And like in this generation, you know, Matto's like one of the like last guys that's still long distance jumping. And you know, everyone knows what happened to Alex Harville. It's devastating. And in this movie, it was kind of like a project that we put together with the ending to be long distance, to kind of start my long distance, you know, career in a way. And we were able to build this massive dirt jump long distance setup, which is like a $250,000 setup. And that's why I think a lot of people don't get into distance jumping. It costs so much. But with all of our sponsors in the movie, we're able to put together a long distance setup, and we own it out there, so we can plan live distance record jump shows in the future. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the goal of the movie. I mean, I've done a lot of the gold medal, like X Games stuff, quarter pipe, real moto, and then the movie came up, and it was like, you know, let's go see if I can break records in this. And the goal wasn't to break a long distance record in the movie, but it was to show I had what it took.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, I mean, the quarter pipe record, and then the long distance like dirt natural terrain record, I was able to jump. Wes Agee backflipped a 190 foot jump, and mine happened to be right at 190 foot as well. Fourth gear wide open, pulling back off like, I mean, that jump's the biggest jump that's ever been flipped, natural terrain. McNarls did the 210 foot, I think, in on the Pipe 7, but that was off of a ramp to dirt. So yeah, I mean, you take on a project and making a movie, and it's like, what's going to sell the movie? What's going to make people want to go watch the movie is you have to go out and do stuff that's gnarly and break records. So kind of signed myself up for doing the biggest stuff in a way.
Dude, it's kind of changing the topic a little bit, but it's in that same vein. So Harry, Bink, and J.O. Archer just 2 nights ago did the world's first triple flip in competition.
Yeah.
And like being there, and like I'm really tight with Harry. Like he's a guy that I've been friends with for a lot of years now. I mean, I think he was like
Harry's
episode
cool.
5 of this podcast. Like that's how far we go back. And bro, I was so fucking scared for him. Like the week before, and I mean, I didn't really care to go to see Nitro. Like we just got back from Melbourne, like I had to fly back for it, but it was like, I know that there was just like a feeling that I had of like, I just feel like I should be there for the guy, you know, like, just to,
of course, man, it's triple flip on a dirt bike. Who would have thought, you know,
dude,
like
it
live at a
was
show off of a ramp. When I seen Jay doing the triple flips and then Harry doing them off that ramp, I'm like, it's crazy they can get the bike to flip that many times, you know? And even though it's like on an airbag landing, you can still get messed up. If you like mess up on your pole, you could come down on your head, or anything could go wrong, and you're so high in the air. It's no joke at all. You could get really messed up, and the consequences are huge. And I think that goes with like anything that nowadays, you know, if you want your name to be big, or you want to stand out amongst the rest of the riders, it takes doing something that you could get really injured doing to do it. And I think that's the payout, you know, that's why people respect it. So yeah, props to those guys for just going that big, pulling back and stomping it too right there live is sick.
Oh man, and I think that like I got goosebumps now. Like the thing that I think makes it more epic is like when you see after the fact and the clip goes on social media and Monster Energy posts it as a reel. It's 40 seconds. But I mean, to be in the stands and to watch Harry like tripping, you know, like he's doing shit to fire himself up, and he's walking around and he's like pissing 10 times. And like when you're on the stage, like when you're in the stands, you see all of that. And then he crashed the first one and his bike got bent up. And then he's like tripping on getting his bike straight, and he's taking like multiple kind of test runs at the ramp. And you just know the demons that dude is facing to, you know, and it's like in my head, I'm like, fuck, bro, you just pull out. Like, how do you mentally get there to, like you said, you just pull back on something, like stare at that massive ramp, and you've got a stadium full of people and a dude with a TV camera saying go, like the level of, I don't know,
you just
like
sign yourself up for like, and that's, I think it's how it always is. It's like, it sucks, you know, right before you go for something big, it's like, dude, what am I doing? This sucks. You know, you think about the injuries, and he's been hurt, you know, we all have, and it's like laying in bed for 4-6 months and maybe longer, and then having to rehab back, and then even learning that if you're able to ride again, and like building your confidence, you know, like when I broke my back and pelvis and all that in the movie, like it took months to heal, you know, and it's like you don't want to go through that again. So you're just sitting, I mean, I'm sure he was thinking it too, you know, before he went for the triple flip, and that's what it takes. You have to block it out, and that's what makes these guys heroes and just ultimate badasses.
Yeah, and to me, it was just that's where I think that you guys are inspiring, you know, because there's so many times in a person's everyday normal existence where it's like, it's cold outside, I'm not going to go to the gym, or, you know, it's raining a little bit, you know, like just as humans, we just bitch out of so much stuff, and it's just basic, like really basic shit. And then I think that that's, you know, why you guys are admired, and why you guys have, I don't know, like people look up to you guys in such a gnarly ways, because it's like the challenge that you're able to overcome. And it's not like, I think in the past, maybe people looked at you guys as though you had no fear and you didn't think of the consequences, but that's not the narrative, dude. The narrative is that you guys are just gnarly enough to actually overcome all of those things and still pull the trigger. And to me, it's just like infinitely impressive. Yeah.
I think you just put in the work and you prepare as much as you can, and when it comes time to go for something, you're thinking about if you could get hurt, but it's like the goal is, it outweighs it almost. You're just like, hey, if I were to land, let's say Harry Bink, like if I were to land a triple flip, or Jay Archery, it's like you could land it. That is badass, and you're going to be so stoked if you land it. The victory, or the goal has been reached. That's huge. And you just work hard and prepare for something, and then you kind of just say, all right, F it, I'm going for it, and then whatever you prepared for, it kind of shows on the result of if you landed or not, or how far off you were, or whatever it is. So I think that's what kind of gets me out of bed to go do the stuff I've been doing for my YouTube. It's like, how sick would it be if I go jump that highway, or if I go jump the train or whatever, and like build the right ramp and test it and make sure it's good. And then it's, it sucks. You're like, dude, I could be laid up for months if I backside this train, or what if I go too far or something or whatever. But then when you stomp it, it's like, it feels like Christmas morning or something, but times 10. You're like, dude, that was so awesome, man. Like, I can't wait to post that. And yeah, and then going back to what you said about like, is a 40-second reel of the triple flip. I don't even look at the reels. I skip through them. I don't even look at my phone when it's like Supercross. I'm like, don't tell me who wins. If anyone's on their phone, don't tell me who wins, because I want to watch the full broadcast. Same with Rampage. Like, I go to the full broadcast. I kind of don't even look at the thumbnails, and then I'll go to it and I want to watch the whole thing, because that's then you get to see all that stuff, the preparation, Harry warming up and Jay getting ready and his celebration after, and that's the way I like to watch stuff. So
yeah, being there in person was just like a whole different level. Like, you feel it, like you really feel everything that you're going through, and like to be like worried for someone and then to have it be okay is just the craziest feeling.
Yeah,
I
and
said
how
to him
high
after,
are they going?
Bro, it's like 80 feet or something. Or like, no, so 8
Yeah.
stories, they said. So I don't know how high that is.
In person or on video, you don't see that. You see them go high, but in person, you hear the bike, you see how high they are. You're looking at, like, it's so much different in person. That's the same thing with X Games quarter, or World Games quarter, or even watching those guys freestyle best trick out at X Games. You're seeing them go for double flips in practice, and you're thinking like, dude, this is so gnarly. I'm like, I would never want to do freestyle best trick. Like, it's insane. And then they say the same thing to me. Like, I would never want to do quarter pipe. Like, that looks insane. I'm like, well, I do it so much, I feel good with it. But when you go for the big airs, still you're like in the air, like tripping out. Like, whoa, I could totally wreck my brains out right now.
Dude, well, I took my chick as well, and she's never seen anything like it. And she was just like, this is actually fucked up. Like, she's not from moto. She's got nothing to do with it. She'd never even been in a stadium before.
Yep.
And she was all like, this actually isn't okay. And like, why are these people allowed to do this?
The progression, Like, I remember going to Home Depot Center when I was like 12 years old, watching everybody, Pastrana on the silver bike and Nate Adams and stuff. And just watch them hit like the 120 ramp, and even just their first tries hitting the 75 and some of those dirt step downs they were doing. I was getting butterflies, like, whoa, like, that's huge. But nowadays, look at the progression. Guys are doing triple flips on a like oversized, they call it the moon booter ramp, but it's like double the size of that. It's just, and they're still just a dude, just a dude with a helmet on, just going for it. It's crazy.
Well, I think like, there's a cool jump that we hit that's like 110 feet or something like. It's like safe as a house. But even I was doing some coaching stuff with Townley, and he's like, righto, we're going fourth gear wrapped into this thing, and then shutting off before the up ramp, and then like you're just gonna float off that thing, and it's like you get like that weakness, like when you're trying something new for the first time, you've got like that adrenaline, and you just kind of like feel like you're weak and folded into the ramp. And I'm like, dude, imagine doing a triple flip and you've got that weakness in your body from like the adrenaline. It's like the first time you're in a street fight. Like, you're throwing a punch like as hard as you can. It's like your fucking arms made out of marshmallows, And it's like, to think that you could, triple flip and have that like feeling of like weakness in your body, or like hit a distance jump. Just even that, I'm scared of doing something and just being too weak in my body from adrenaline to like even jump the fucking jump.
Yeah, well, that's the preparation, like the quarter pipe. I remember the first day out at the World Games in practice in Paris, California, in a parking
Yeah.
lot, and it was just a practice day. No one had hit the ramp, and we started just carving and just going like a foot above coping and a couple feet, you know. And I was like real eager to make a name for myself there because I was a nobody. I didn't have one logo on my bike, and I was just going bigger and bigger, and 10 foot, 12 foot, and people are like, whoa, dude, like. And then next thing you know, 15, but you start there, and then 15 becomes normal and you're comfortable, and then 20 is kind of gnarly, but then you get comfortable. And I think it's the same for those guys. Like, they're going for triple flips into a bag or whatever, and double flips, airing them out, and you just kind of keep just progressing. And but then the end product is just, yeah, it's insane. It's cool for them to do it live, for everybody to see that too. It's like almost unbelievable.
Yeah. It's sort of almost a shame that it seems like freestyle motocross as a sport kind of almost became like a victim of its own success, or it was just like, it was like a bubble. There was just this crazy period of progression where it was like one backflip and Carry Hart and Gravity Games and X Games, and then you got like the next wave of like Pastrana and Nate Adams, and then you kind of got like then you got the Josh Sheehan's and those guys, and it just kept progressing. But it seemed like the more it progressed, the more people just got used to seeing the tricks, and used to just the shock value was gone. You know, like my chick is like weird that she's never seen something like that in her life. Like, she's like an outlier, you know, and it's hard to reach those people. And it's like, we've got these amazing athletes, and these, you know, they're doing this crazy shit, but slowly over time people just like almost got over it, to where, you know, there's guys that just like don't even make a living doing freestyle now, which is crazy to me. And to think, like, when we were kids, you would have thought this is this, you know, epic job that could kind of go forever.
Yep. Yeah, well, it's dangerous, and I think a lot of people get turned off to the riding part of it, but it's like seeing the same kind of tricks over and over again. I think that's where like creativity is important, you know, and like, I think that's why free riding will never die, because free riding is whatever you want it to be, you know. Like, you could be out building a massive dirt hit that no one's hit yet and hitting that, and that's its own thing. Or like, you know, like, I've been trying to find different stuff to jump and ride, and I think a lot of people are finding that as creative, and it's just something different, you know. And I think that's kind of cool. From like, I grew up racing motocross, Bierman did and stuff, and that's why we kind of have like bike control to go do that stuff, where freestyle is you know, some of the guys, it's hard for them to ride free ride stuff, and I think that kind of makes free riding prestigious in itself. But then again, we would never go out and try backflip double grabs and backflip rock solids. That would take months of time to learn. So and then you go to fairs and stuff, you watch the freestyle shows in person, they're big, they're like, they draw a lot of people, and it's huge, you know. So yeah, I've just been trying to keep stuff creative and do stuff on my channel that's different, and I have so much fun with it too, just because I'm like, am I gonna pull this off? Or I'll go out to, like, I went out to Yuma, Arizona last week, and I found this really cool obstacle. It's like a hip, you know, it's pretty tech for a dirt bike, first gear, and it felt like a BMX hip. And then the road gap thing, like, we planned on a road gap, but we didn't plan on the hip. And then the road gap was so fun. It's just, you're kind of learning as you go and finding new stuff. And I think that's like what really keeps me like motivated, is free riding and just finding new stuff. And, you know, sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. So I don't know. I mean, I love the tricks and stuff too. And I kind of started learning more for ramp shows and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's gnarly. It's its own thing. So Pastrana was really good at keeping it creative. He's backflipping off his bike and roosting or whatever, ghost riding his bike. Metzger was always a psycho, dude. Like, give some crazy speech and just whiskey throttle off a landing and just wreck or clip a ramp, or, you know what I mean? Like, that was wild. So, but yeah, I mean, anything, you could be creative, and I see a lot of guys doing cool stuff in freestyle too. So I'm stoked to watch it.
So with you kind of brought up something cool before when you talked about Nitro, the practice in the car park, and you didn't have any sponsors and any logos. Is it crazy to you to think that you were that guy only a few years ago, and then you pulled together enough funding to build a $250,000 landing and you're a Factory Husqvarna rider. Like, there's some crazy shit that's happened to you in the last few years purely based off like the level of riding that you've been able to do. I mean, that must have been a pretty hard journey to kind of get to that point.
Yeah, I think like the results talk, and I've always kind of relied on that. Like I knew I was a good rider, and I'd go out to the hills as a nobody, and I helped shovel a lot of the jumps that were in the Chasing the Storm movies and stuff. And I always kind of showed my skill out there, so I kind of knew I had that part. But definitely it is a trip. I think I'm finally used to it now, and I've got different LLCs and a corporation.
Yeah.
I'm juggling like things, I've got my own property. We're building out I bought like 10 acres out in the desert, and we're building some of the sickest stuff I've seen, and I'm stoked to release that coming up. And then the YouTube and the merch, and then just my sponsors and keeping them all stoked, and then competitions, so juggling all that, it's crazy. But yeah, I remember back then I was literally homeless, living like I was sleeping in my truck going into my first X Games. And I borrowed a van from militia to drive out to Minneapolis with a couple buddies, and just for the quarter pipe was the only event I was in. And I just, trained for that, and I just had one goal, and I kind of relied on that in a way. I was like, one day I'm going to get this like first win, or, just my invite to X Games was huge. But then I showed like at Nitro for practice. That was before my first X Games, and I went higher than everybody that day too, so I was like 4 or 5 feet higher than Axel the first day we practiced at Nitro on that big ramp. And Pastrana was so stoked on me that day. It's just like checking off these crazy things. Like Pastrana's giving me a high five. You know what I mean? Who would have thought? Like, but yeah, I mean, I had like a couple sponsors, some like cannabis dispensaries were helping me get to X Games that year. But yeah, I just kind of really didn't do a whole lot of like talking or whatever. I just focused on my craft and what I could pull off at a contest. So it's like, be ready, like cut weight, show up with a good bike, put in the extra days on the practice for quarter. And then ever since then, it's been the same thing. And I think it's just, every year I keep proving myself that I'm the guy to beat or whatever. And I've won the last few of them. So yeah, it is a trip though. I always like think about that, like, man, yeah, I was bouncing around from couch to couch for years, and I would work construction like 2 jobs at the same time just to save up enough money so I could quit both jobs and then go stay in my van and go free ride all winter, because I wanted to make a name for myself. And I knew if I was out there every day, I'd start networking, meeting people, try to get sponsors. So it's like I'd run out of money, and I'd be like, shit, I got to go back. So I'd go back into LA and set my mattress up in my van and go grind. Like I'd work nights and then clock out, and then I'd go I had a day job too. And I didn't tell my bosses I was working both. So, but I was like about to get fired by both bosses, because they're like, dude, what are you doing? Are you not sleeping? You look like shit, man. You're showing up just like, you look haggard. And come Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm just like, dude, I slept like 2 hours like a night, or in between jobs I've running on like 8 hours of sleep for 5 days, but I'd stack both jobs, and then some of the night guys would want to work till like 4 or 5 a.m. Some nights like they wanted extra hours or whatever, and I'm like, dude, you guys want to clock out? And they're like, no, what are you, pussy? I'm like, I'm gonna go clock in like 3 hours, dude. I gotta work days too. But I'd do that, and then I'd save up, and then I'd be able to go stay in my van or whatever, sleep on couches down in the Inland Empire, and then I'd go free ride all winter. And I just kept grinding because I saw it. I kind of could tell I was flipping stuff before other guys. I'd be like doing just as big as whips as some of the big name dudes in the hills, and I'd just put it all together. And then the quarter pipe thing was like saved my whole like life, because I'm like, dude, free riding's sweet, but the quarter pipe was where I could really excel. And then I put it all together, and yeah, it's been a mission, man. But my sponsors are taking care of me, and yeah, I've won the last few years, and now I've got new stuff going on, and I'm starting to put more effort into my YouTube channel. It's been so much fun. So just keep grinding, try not to get hurt.
Dude, I love it, man. Like that's the story that it's the story you want to hear, and I just feel like it's the guy that, you want to be. And I just think like we just live in such a world these days where people want everything, and they want everything now. And it's like to be that guy that just grinded and worked 2 jobs and, you know, like then lived in a van. It's just, that's the shit that I wish more people, because everyone wants to be Colby Raha that's there right now, you know, but that Colby Raha that's there right now 5 years ago was sleeping 2 hours a night and doing construction job. Like, that's the same Colby Raha. So it's like, if you want to be the Colby Raha right now, then you've also got to want to be that guy too. And it's like, there's no promise when you're the guy sleeping in the van working 2 construction jobs back to back that you're going to be the guy that's sitting there right now. There's no guarantees. And I think that if there was a guarantee, like if someone came to you and said, like, if you just do this for 5 years, this is where you'll get up to, then I think everybody would be down to do it. But when there's no guarantee, bro, and you're the guy that's like got to get up to that fucking alarm, like that, the respect level you've got to have for that guy is just through the roof. And then you've earned everything you've got.
Yeah, it was. I remember sleeping in the van, working 2 jobs, and I'm like, man, if I ever pull this off, this is gonna be a cool story, you know. But it could have easily not worked out, and I just would get so mad because I was kind of like on the fence of free riding, or I wanted to race kind of supercross stuff. So I was doing the Ricky Carmichael's Road to Supercross. It was the arena cross stuff. And I would save up all this money, and I'd just be going through it at work like, man, this shit sucks. I'm just going to get out of here and I'm going to go grind. And I'd take that same work ethic to going out and mountain biking, and then I'd show up and I'd blow through all my money, you know, tires and gas and oil. And I remember after I drove all the way to Cincinnati in my van with a flip phone and like no map even. I'm just like 10 to the 20 freeway all the way up to Cincinnati. And then I get there and I get cut off in the first heat race, and it's like some squirrel. It's like a rutted section, and just dislocated my left shoulder, and I couldn't pop it in for a little bit. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't ride. The next week I went to Baltimore and I tried to ride, and the whoops was just so gnarly. I had my shoulder taped. I'm like, dude, I spent so much money. This racing stuff is just out of control. So now I'm just going to go home and I'm going to start free riding. And then I was doing the same thing, but actually I was like saving my money and lasting a lot longer off of what I'd saved. And then it just, everything started coming together. And then I just remember those times, and I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm going to take the same approach to what I'm doing. My friends are like, you want to drive to where and go like chop down a fence and build a ramp and jump this and that, and like, what? That sounds like a mission. And I'm like, dude, it ain't that bad. We got this. Like, grab all my cordless tools, you start building a ramp, testing it. Oh, it's like too steep, man. I'm gonna land flat. I'm gonna blow up my wheels. I got to build a longer one. But I just like put in that whatever it takes to get, whatever I think would be sweet. That's the goal. I'm just gonna put it all together and try to do it, and that was kind of the goal back then too. Is like, I know I'm grinding and working, but my goal is to, like, I didn't think I'd make money at it, so I started my YouTube channel back then, just riding the hills and filming with a home video camera. And I'm like, at least YouTube will kind of pay, and then if I need to, I can ride freestyle shows, and then at least I'll be riding my bike, and we'll see what happens, at least for now. And then just being out there all the time. And then, like I said, the quarter pipe thing came up, and I was like, I can get an invite to X Games, like that's it. I got this. And I just put in the work and got the quarter pipe going, and then showed up for that. But yeah, you just put a goal together and kind of figure out the steps it takes to get to the end goal, and try not to get hurt and all that. Dude, dirt bikes are so gnarly. You can wreck so hard on them, but if you prepare right, you're pretty much good. So it's been a journey, man. But yeah, I'm blessed.
Where do you think that the motivation came from to do it? Because, I mean, I think, like, even with me, like, I'm just doing a fucking podcast. Like, it's not gnarly. I'm not putting my body on a lot. Like, it's different. And
you're doing a good job at it.
But it's like, I mean, there's like years, dude, where it's like you're not making any money, and it was just me. And like people would like people sort of wouldn't realize, like, I do a 3-hour show, right? And there's 2 cameras, and then I've got to then like get that footage, and then for 3 hours I've got to like switch the camera back and forth, because like there's no one doing that. So it's like I do like 3 of these shows a week, so that's like 9 hours worth of shows. and then I'd spend
And
another
you're
9
grinding and
hours
it's
like
working out, dude.
staring at myself, and I'm like, this is so retarded. Like none of this makes fucking
No,
sense.
it's
Like,
sick, dude. Your show's killing it, man. You got all the big names, and like I remember when you first came out with the show, and I seen some of the names you had on there, and I'm like, this is looking good, you know. And then now it's, you know, and I meant to be on it back then, but yeah, it's blowing up, dude. You're just putting in the work. I think for me, the motivation is like I remember like my boss offered me this deal back then to be a finished carpenter and build cabinets and stuff. And we were building music studios for like high end houses in Beverly Hills, and I was down there like every day for like I think it was like a 2 year thing I was on. And he told me, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have you work with our best finished carpenter, and you're gonna learn his craft. In about 5 years, you know, you could be making like 35 to like 50 an hour, you know. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sweet, sounds good, you know? And then I'm just hanging out at like the parties on the weekends at the houses, and I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, I don't know if I want to do this every day like this every week for 5. Like, you just drew out my whole life, bro. Like, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather at least go risk it all and go gamble and go do the living in the van thing and see if it all comes together, because at the end of that, I either failed and I can go get my job or go, you know, do whatever. But if it works out, then it's like, you know, I've got the dope cars and I can get the hot chick, you know, like I can have whatever I want to do. Like, and that's like the gamble, but it's like, I see like I can see what it would be like at the end.
yeah.
And now it's, you know, it wasn't easy, you know. There's injuries and fails, a lot of fails, you know, like shooting myself in the foot type situations and stuff here and there, but that was it, you know. I'm like, dude, I think this is the way to go. It's like, if not, I'll give my old boss a call and I'll go work Monday, you know, and then I can do my job. And that's cool too. I think I was just born into dirt biking before I can even remember. My dad used to take me out to go ride all the tracks. I grew up in Acton, right outside of Palmdale, and we rode Mike Kudrowski's tracks and Kyle Lewis's tracks. So that's all I knew growing up. And my dad's competitive. We raced Lorettas, and I think that he kind of instilled that work ethic, and then I kind of seen what I was doing. I was beating like top guys at races, you know, and I always was kind of at the top of my class with like. And then one thing I wanted to do is like, I was kind of so tired of like being at the track or like hearing whatever my dad was telling me. I kind of wanted to go do my own thing and ride BMX for a little bit and like see if I was good at that. And I started doing that, and I got so good really quickly. Learned backflips without a foam pit on a BMX, and then once the parent split thing, I was like, cool, I've got BMX. A good thing I did that for the last few years, because now I can do that. And I did that for years, and then I got a signature frame from Standard Bike Co. and Rick Molinterno out in Iowa. And so we took a road trip out there and we did a whole tour and stuff. And I was riding BMX, and a lot of the guys like Larry Edgar and all these dudes, they're like, dude, I knew you from BMX. I didn't even know you rode dirt bikes. Like, I thought you were just like an up and coming, like borderline about to be like a pro BMXer. And, but then, you know, free riding became so fun, and it felt like just like BMX, and I wasn't spending too much more money. I was in Paris, so 15-minute drive to the hills in my little stick shift Toyota. But yeah, I mean, back to the goal thing and like putting it all together and all that. That's kind of just the mission. It's just, I had the motivation, I think, just from where I grew up and just trying to be at the top level of the class, and I could see what I did. I had the confidence, and yeah, it was a mission, dude. But just keep trucking, you know. That's kind of what I've been doing. So
Yeah, and I think that I think that for the people that are successful, the motivation's like a weird thing, because like, you know, for myself, like I just don't even really know where it comes from, but it's just there. And like, even when stuff doesn't make sense to me, you know, I'm just like, I still do it. Like, the money's not there, and you know, like, you sort of just, you're struggling, and there's like way easier things to do in the moment. Like, in the moment, the thing, like,
but you see the end goal.
Yeah, and it's like, it's vague, and you sort of like, you don't even really know like exactly where it's going to go, but there's just, I always kind of tell people, if like people ask me, I'm like, I just feel like I'm going north. Like, there's some version of like north for me, and it's like, as long as I'm just like going north, then it's sort of, it's almost like north, but with a lot of this shit. You know, it's like it's straight. You're
Yeah.
going straight, but like there's
Yep.
some mountains, and then like sometimes it's flat and hot as fuck, and it's like this desert that you're walking through. And then sometimes it's really
Your
nice.
flat
and there's
tire
like,
truck blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah, you're
it's
like,
like
what
a
am I
river you gotta
doing,
swim
huh?
across.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I've been. Well, the whole movie thing was its own thing. You'll see all that. It's all in the movie. It's like Gold Rush mixed with like dirt biking and stuff towards the end with the jump. But with the YouTube stuff, because I've done YouTube in the past, but I never really focused on it. I always put contests, shows, and there's like 4 or 5 contests a year. You got X Games sometimes twice a year, Imagination, and you've got just different like I don't know, shoots and things people need and sponsored trips. And I
Yeah.
always put all that first, and my YouTube was on the back burner. You know, I'd put out a video like once every 6 months or something. And then now finally I'm like, yeah, I just want to focus on that. And so I'm starting to do this new thing with the YouTube, and it's fun because I go out, bust my ass, do a stunt or whatever, film it, edit it with my filmer, Carcito Films, and then we'll put it out. And it's like I'm sitting there looking at my phone. I'm like, this thing's
Yeah,
either going
bro.
to blow up or it's not. And then sometimes it's such a wall hit. I get like 60K views in like a week, and I'm like, damn, I spent a good amount of energy and time and effort on that, and I,
Yeah,
you
bro.
know, whatever might have crashed in that one, and it's like, what a mission, dude. And then I'll go out and do one, and it's sometimes if it's even not a lot of work, it's just something fun, just whatever to go do. The next thing you know, it's like at 1 million views in 3 days, and it's skyrocketing, and I'm like, dude, we're killing it. Merch is selling, you know? So it's like a gamble, and I think that's the fun part. Like whenever I post a video, I feel like it's like a scratcher, like a lottery ticket. I'm like, this
Yeah.
one's either going to take off or it's not, you know? So it's just random, but it's fun. I think it's a lot better for me. I don't know if it's just my personality, but to go sit in traffic, driving from back in the day, I was staying in Newhall, California, driving an hour to Los Angeles or Beverly Hills to go work the same job with the same dudes, and then clock out and then drive back in the same traffic and the radio. I'm just like I'll do that. I would do that all day over some of the injury stuff. Like I wouldn't want to get injured, and I'm trying not to and all that. And this is a gnarly sport, so there's like this certain type of person for it. But for me, I would rather do what I'm doing now. Even if it didn't work, I would rather do what I'm doing now than to go do the same thing every day, you know? And I think it
Yeah.
changes maybe when you get older and you start having a family. Well, then now you need to find something that's consistent without the risk. So, but I'm having a blast right now. And yeah, just, yeah, like I was saying, the YouTube stuff, and it's a gamble, man. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but feels good. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and you're right. Like it's hard to, and I think that that's probably where like some of the, I guess like the anxiety comes in to a sense in this shit, is that when you're in like the game of like working for yourself, or you're trying to, you know, make it at something, because there is like a ticking time clock. You know, you can either be the dude that's like, am I still going to be pedaling a podcast at 50, not making enough money to support a family, and you know, like you be that guy, or it's
Yeah.
like, or you're in a position where like you've already got kids and you've already got a family and you've already got these responsibilities. Like it definitely
Yep.
ain't easy to do. And like you said, once you get those commitments, then you're sort of like really locking yourself down.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of why I'm starting to go into doing like YouTubes and trying to build the merch thing more, is because I kind of can see the path of like what happens. You know, you start getting too hurt, and like, dude, that last injury I took in the movie, that took a lot out of me. Like that was a gnarly one, and I don't know if I can handle too many more of those, you know. So I'm starting to do stuff that I think is a little bit more low risk, and it's still fun. Back to free riding, you know, back to what I was doing before X Games, was just going out and filming, and just kind of trying to do different stuff to keep the income good. And I'm still doing contests. Like X Games is a huge priority for me, but yeah, I'm just trying to do what I want to do and keep it fun, and kind of venture out into different ways, you know, have different incomes. It's like YouTube, merch, salary stuff. And then now with my property, that'll be its own kind of business venture. I've spent a lot of money on that to build that place up, and it's about to become a thing. Like we're working on a video right now with Rockstar Energy out there.
Sick.
So, but yeah, just trying to get different things set up, have different incomes, and keep going.
You mentioned before when your parents split up, and I could see, like, because I think I'm an action sports kid as well. Like I didn't go through that in that same sense, to where like BMX became like your escape, I'm assuming, from like everything that was
Yeah.
kind of going on. But I mean, for me, like, we just kind of grew up in like a pretty gnarly neighborhood, and you needed something to kind of stay out of the same trouble that everyone else was getting in. And for me, that was like moto. Like, I just wanted to get home from school as fast as I could, prep all my shit, and then just wait for my dad to take us riding. And I just like lived to be on the bike. I would have rode every single day of my life if I could. And then I think, like, watching the movie and like kind of seeing you go from into BMX. And for us, like, the days we couldn't ride, we would do BMX. Like, we made a foam pit out of mud, and we had some sweet dirt jumps in the hills. And it was like that was like our escape from all of the crazy shit that was going on. And I had a couple of, like, my best friends, like, they had some gnarly parents with like drugs and shit like that, and a lot of like abuse at home. And I could see that same thing in them. And dude, it's almost like they were the best riders. It was like the gnarlier the shit that they had going on at home, and like the gnarlier the problems were that were going on in their life, the better fucking riders those guys were. And it's like, when you see what you went through with your parents, and the split that happened there, and it's like, you've got this BMX bike, you've got this freedom where it's like, sort of doesn't really matter what's going on at home. And it's sort of, I feel like that's like one of the most incredible things about being like an action sports kid.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is too. I think sports are weird because, like, I don't know, it's something about like a team. Like, I did soccer in high school. I grew up playing soccer as a kid, but something about like the coach was such a dick, and like it ruined my whole day. Like, I was like, dude, you're not gonna like put me in the position that I want to play, and then you're gonna favor these guys. Like, I'm like, this is stupid, I don't even want to be a part of it. Like, I don't even like those guys on the team. Those guys are dicks, So, but yeah, so like dirt biking is a family thing. You can't take yourself to the track or take yourself to the hills on a bike, or when you're 4 years old or 5 or 6 or 7. You can't. Your dad has to load your bike in a truck. You got to own a truck to do it most of the time, unless you want to throw it in a trunk. But you're going out, your dad's starting your bike, putting fuel in it, making sure, so it is a family thing. And that's all it was for me. My dad, he was into BMX. He raced BMX, like nationals and stuff when he was growing up, because his dad wouldn't get him a dirt bike. But then for when my parents to split, I'm like, okay, so like what? This is the only thing that was important my whole life is now just gone. Like, it's stripped away. Now I have to choose to stay with either parent. Both of them are acting like fools, like, I didn't want to be a part of any of that. So I'm like, okay, well, the BMX thing was great, because it's like, how about I just put my music in, jump on my BMX bike, ride like 2.5 miles to the skate park, and then I'm good. I see the locals there, and I just remember, like, I would put on the same playlist, and then I would ride to the skate park, and I'd be there for like 4 hours or something from when school ended till it closed. And I would practice. I have notes in my phone, and I'd go, all right, I'm going to do like 250 oppo airs, and then, 250 regular airs, tables. I would do like 360s, oppo 3s, flyouts. Like, I just started just grinding, and I'd be like I'd show up to the park and wave to the whatever, and then I'd just be there. And it's like, oh, Colby's over there in the bowl every day, doing the same thing, airing the deep end oppo, airing this. But yeah, I was like, this is my ticket. Like, and then if I wanted to hang out with friends after school, what are you guys doing after school? Oh, we're going to go grab 40s, and we're going to go roll up some doobies, and we're going to go sit in our cars and just get loaded. And it's like, all right, I'd go with them some days, and I'm like, dude, I am so bored right now. Like, let's go ride bikes. Like, there's dirt jumps over there. Let's just go shred. And it's like, none of them cared or didn't want to do it. So I'd just be like, whatever, I'm just going to go ride alone or whatever, just go train and go to the skate park, because then if you wreck, there's people around. But yeah, that was a perfect outlet for me. That's what's so awesome about BMX. You don't need like parents
Yeah.
or really any money. You get a bike and you could pedal it to the store. You could get a whatever, like $1 drink, and then go to the skate park and be there for hours and then ride home. It's like, how was your day? It was sick. Like, you won't understand, but I basically went higher than everyone at the whole park, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the perfect outlet, you know? BMX is the sickest. I actually, sometimes I love BMX, man. I almost wanted to ride BMX instead of moto like my whole childhood, you know, even though had set up for moto. But when that failed, I was like, all right, perfect. I'm going to go shred BMX all day, and it's going to be way more fun. And I get to have my own freedom, and I don't got a dad telling me, hey, come in hot or lift your knee up or whatever. Or that guy's beating you this week. You know, whatever. And you know how much money I'm spending to do this shit? It's like, dude, like, all right, man, shit, you know? But it all is cool, because now it's like the same. That's where I got the do 100 oppo airs or 100 regular airs, because it's like, he's like, you're going to hit this corner until you do 15 perfect corners, we're not leaving. It's like, and if it's dark, you know, then you're going to go home and scrub toilets. He heard that from Ricky Carmichael's mom, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, now I'm taking the same, like, now I want to win. So I'm doing free ride and I'm doing quarter pipe. I'm going to go hit that thing, you know, hundreds of times until I get, you know, this many perfect. So just a whole different thing, you know? But yeah, BMX is perfect for kids who don't have the supportive family, want to get out. And I didn't care to go sit around and get drunk and smoke or try that or try this drug or whatever. It's like, dude, you guys are like bumping rap music, listening and or like doing pills or doing whatever you're doing. You guys think you're so cool, man. But like, what are you doing now? Like, I don't even know. I don't even keep in touch with those guys, but I bet you they're probably sitting around doing the same exact thing, you know? And even if this whole dirt bike thing failed for me, at least I went out and tried, you know? So, and it was fun. And then go get a job, you know, get a job later if you want, you know? So,
man, how many kids do you know? And I mean, I got so many, the same, like we'd rock up, we had these dirt jumps that like the city built for us. And, they were like always, they were
Australian, always. You're New Zealand or Australia?
Australia.
Okay, yeah. Australia is sick how the city will give you guys a park and then put storage containers with shovels and hoses and wheelbarrows. I went to Adelaide every year for the step up thing, the Super Loop. And, dude, it was the sickest thing ever. I'm like, you guys are killing it down here. I wanted to stay forever. Everyone's bumping old school rock and roll, like Diamond Head, like Motorhead, all this sickest music, and they're just all tatted, just riding BMX every day. That's the dream, dude. Like, I would do that for free all day. It was so much fun. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, dude, that actually reminds me. My brother was like one of the guys that was like helping set that shit up. Matty, you remember Matty that was doing like so he's like, when I told him,
was he like the main guy to pick everyone up from the airport and all that?
Yeah.
Or it was a couple, only 2 or 3 guys. It's been a few years now. They haven't done it, I think, after the COVID thing. But yeah, that was a blast. 1 week, step up all week. Your back would be sore, but same thing. So I'd bring my filmer Tyson with me, and we'd go out there and we'd go check in, get our bikes set up, put our graphics on, do the practice, and then I'd hit up the locals, Dempsey from Adelaide, and I'd go, hey, what up, man? Let's go shred. So we'd go grab some VVs, and we'd go hit the trails, and I'd ride all evening, come back. Everyone's like, hey, where you been, man? I'm like, dude, shredding the jumps. It's so much fun. And then we'd go straight into practice, contest, and I'm so sore from riding BMX, and same thing, they'd come watch, and then we'd go ride the woody trails or whatever, like just different dirt spots. They got so many out there. Those guys all kill it, man. So much fun.
Yeah, no, that just jotted my memory. Actually, he was talking about it the other day. He was like, yeah, dude, Raha was out with us. And like, yeah, him and Dave were like the guys that sort of put it all together.
Yeah, and Dave's the one that picked us up.
Yeah.
And then Maddie, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff out there. That was fun.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I remember we used to go to these like dirt bike jumps, and they were like kind of made by the city or whatever. And it was just like, every day you just felt like you were risking like your life just going there, you know, because we were like grommies, and then there'd just be like all these drugged out fuckwits, but they kind of like half shredded on BMX, you know. And so we'd like,
well, yeah, that could be like that could be like the bummer too with action sports. You kind of got to stay clear of that. There's like this thing that's cool about, or people think is cool, where it's like these guys get loaded and ride. And it's like, okay, dude, yeah, you could do that. But if you're serious, like, you got to cut the shit out and, like, get your tricks straight and start getting your stuff together. And I talked to my buddy Eric Sorensen, and he's training his nephews to golf right now. And he's like, I'm like, hey, how's golf? Because he grew up in skating. He was the Weed Map TM, and I'm like, hey, how's golf? He's like, these kids are killing it, man. They're great. And he's like, and you know what? Raising them around an industry where there's not like your loaded drug addict dudes, like skate parks, you get that shit all day, And then the dirt jump, same thing. It's like these dudes are, because the kids are finding a place to go get loaded and smoke pot and all that, and it's at a young age, and get wasted drunk and do whatever else they're doing. But the skate park and the dirt jumps is a perfect place for them to go do that and get away with it because they fit right in. But anyways, like, yeah, I've been golfing, man. Everyone's so respectable. These kids are so, like, on point with everything. So, yeah, that's crazy. I never even thought of that,
Yeah, it was like a crazy deal to kind of just feel like you were risking it every day, and you'd kind of just fully wait your turn to drop in and, like, have your crack at the jumps because you'd just be like scared to fucking piss anyone off. But like, there was just so many talented dudes that just like never went anywhere because they wanted to be like the king of that one local spot. And it's just like, I don't know what it was, but I would just always look at these guys and be like, you could be so fucking good. Like, it's a massive world out there. Like, you could go to America. Like, you're really good at doing this. And there was just like so much wasted talent that just like did drugs and wanted to be the king of the local skate park or the local dirt jumps.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference too between like a golf and a moto BMX. It's like you get to hang out with some of the funniest, gnarliest people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're sitting at the dirt jumps and it's like your one buddy just wrecked his brains out, just over jumped something to his head, and it's like he gets up and he's like, oh, now you gotta go, and then everyone's like, all right, go for it, pussy, and then then you have to go for it, and you stomp it or wreck, and then you hang out at a party later and you got something to talk about, and it's funny, dude. Like, I remember in high school, we were the skater BMX crowd. All my buddies, like Mammoth, snowboard in there, like going on trips. What are you doing? We're going to go skate after school. And then you had like the football dudes, and the football dudes are wearing their jerseys and just acting like they're so cool. And we're like, dude, you guys are such punks. And we throw like a milk carton and hit him in the back or whatever, like the biggest, baddest football dude or whatever. And he's just like, like, act like it didn't happen. I don't even want to start with you dudes. Like, we're all just bumping music in the parking lot, just like showing up to school all loose, But I think that's the part of that I'm attracted to, like, for action sports, is you get to hang with some of the most badass dudes and have the most fun. And maybe you don't get that in golf. I've never played, but yeah, I think that's what I think is fun about it. Because even if the dudes aren't killing it, and like nowadays, you can have a YouTube channel and the dude doesn't even have to be good. But if he's funny, and you find like that's what you like out of the dude, he doesn't have to be the gnarliest guy doing the biggest stuff. But he's like fun and creative and having a good time. That's what's cool about YouTube, is like it's in the moment and it's real. And, guys are making names for themselves from not being the biggest, baddest dude on a bike too. So it's pretty sick.
Yeah, dude, it's like, it is true, but I thought about this recently. Like, I went and did a trip with some guys that are like, they're in a different lane, they're like racing car kind of world. So it's like, they're gnarly motherfuckers, but still kind of like buttoned up. And I was like, just telling stories of like fucking like crazy drug shit, like just shit that you see go down and shit that we kind of around growing up. And I just I sort of had a bit of a moment where I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a bit of a fucking punk. Like, maybe I am like a bit of a, that I just, I was like kind of attracted to that shit. Like, or maybe, but I mean, I wasn't even the gnarliest dude in that sense. So maybe to me, like, it looks kind of mellow, like from my angle and my perspective. But then when you shift it into that world, I like come across like maybe a bit of a piece of shit. And I was just like, fuck, I was like sort of just kind of attracted to like being bad in a sense.
Yeah, it's like being crazy, loose, like being knucklehead or whatever, but always having like respect is important, like, so it's like, dude, that guy's out of control, but he's respectful and he gets his job done. that's like really all that matters. And then yeah, so I've got like my other side of the family, like my mom's side, and they're like college and pretty strict and stuff. And I swear when I hang around them, I'm like, dude, they must think I'm such a dickhead, you know, like the shit that comes out of my mouth. Like, and I don't even notice it until I'm around them. Like, I'm hanging out talking, and then I'll say some story about like whatever, I went and did something, you know, and they're like, dude, you act like that's so normal, like you're a knucklehead. And I don't know, I just think that's like part of it or whatever. But being respectful, getting your job done, you know, paying your bills on time and all that, that's still kind of got to be grounded. But it's fun to get out of control, you know, as long as you're not hurting anybody, breaking anybody's property, or, you know, damaging stuff or whatever. Like, it's pretty much all good.
Yeah, and I just always think like I know I'm not gnarly, you know, like, and I think that in action sports there's always like a gnarlier dude. So maybe you kind of just, I mean, not maybe not in your case. Like once you start getting into your level, like there's not that many dudes that are gnarlier, but it's like I think from where I always sat, I was always like, it ain't that big a deal. Like the guys that I look up to are just doing like fucked up shit that I would never, ever, ever even contemplate doing.
Yeah, I seen some of the gnarliest dudes that they don't even really care. Like they ride and stuff, but some of like my best friends, they're the craziest dudes there is, you know? Like driving to Vegas, these dudes are just such a shit show. They show up and it's like, "Oh my God, man." And some of them do ride, and they're wild, but they just don't care to be like professional and make it their career or whatever, for whatever reason. Maybe they have like a family business or whatever it is. But yeah, I think you meet some of the craziest people, you know, in this industry. And yeah, definitely some of my friends are just the most gnarliest people I've ever met. They make me feel like a pussy, you know? Like I'm like, dude, these guys are so out of control. I feel like I'm the adult right now watching these guys. Like, this is insane, you know? Like for sure, like the biggest pirates, like should have been on a boat in 17-7 or whatever it was. And we're in the lobbies in Vegas, and I'm like, dude, you guys are out of control. Like jumping on the Tigers at MGM, and I don't even know, dude. Like, but yeah, that stuff's fun and stuff, but you got to keep it cool, you know, like keep it somewhat respectful, or, you know, like keep it completely. We got sponsors, man. We got to represent people, and I keep it cool. I used to be a little more rowdy back in the day, and now I'm just focused on doing the YouTube merch and competitions, you know, and making sure everything's going good, and making some money, you know, nowadays. So.
Back to the BMX thing a bit too. I think that's probably like one of the best bases that you can have in moto, and it's probably where so much of like your style comes from. And even in Narnia, there's just like little kind of sections of you like riding in skate parks, and like you're literally able to transfer those skills across like one to one. And man,
yeah,
the BMX thing just seems like the craziest foundation for riding.
Yeah, that's why I think it all worked out with free riding, and why it felt so like natural going into free riding, coming from a racing background. Was like, okay, I can ride BMX like really well, and then I have all the bike control for motoing, so it's like wall ride this, or, you know, wheel tap, jump that, or find a gap or a transfer. You just look at things differently, like, and then being able to build ramps for my framing background. It's just cool. I'm like trying to use what I have to do stuff that I'd be stoked on, or stuff that, I mean, it's weird because it gets competitive and other riders are kind of dogging on you for doing stuff, but it's like, dude, I don't care what you guys think. I kind of care what like the kids think, and like what are they looking up to. Like, I would have been really stoked to watch some of the stuff I just did on my YouTube as an 8-year-old kid. I would have been like, that was awesome, you know. Now every time you drive by a freeway or you see a train or whatever, it's like, that's the stuff that I would have been stoked on. And I'm kind of surprised it took me this long to like go out and start doing more of that. And I think it was because I was saving a lot of the stuff I've been doing. I wanted to do for real moto. I didn't want to just go out and do it for no reason. But now I have a reason. It's for my YouTube. I'm gaining a lot of subscribers, and they're not doing real moto anymore. So I got bronze my first year. I won gold back to back, 18 and 19, or was it 19 and 20? and then they canceled it or whatever, so they're not doing it. So now it's like, okay, what do I do with all these cool spots and stuff? I'm just gonna start doing them, treating it like how I would have treated Real Moto, but I'll just do that for my YouTube now.
Yeah, the YouTube thing's pretty insane, like the level of traction that you can get. And it's cool. Like Axel's obviously been doing his YouTube stuff, and then you're doing your YouTube stuff. Like it is important, I guess. Like when we said at the top of this, it's like our generation, it was DVDs, and it's like you making Narnia was almost like making it for our generation. But it's like nowadays, the generation of kids that need to be inspired to kind of like keep pushing action sports forward, they're on YouTube. And I hadn't really thought of it, man.
YouTube's
but,
like
I mean,
TV.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And
YouTube's
like you said,
like TV nowadays,
Yeah, and like you said with driving down a highway and you see a train, or you see like a massive, like the LA River drain, or you see, like some highway gap. Like for me growing up, I used to drive through the hills and think like, man, you could jump that, and you could, or even, like we just drove to Melbourne Supercross and we're like, dude, imagine the track you could make in there. But it's like you're actually doing.
And that's what I'm doing. But then I'm like, I have a grinder, I have a sawzall, I have shovels. I got a couple dudes that are down to help, and then let's go bust it out. But yeah, I think like YouTube is like TV nowadays, and it's a trip because I'm not like, I don't come from that generation. Like I grew up with TV and DVDs and movies. But any kid you ask nowadays, they run up. You got a YouTube channel? Like, hey, are you on YouTube? And it's like, dude, yeah, you guys literally think YouTube is TV nowadays. Like as an 8-year-old kid, that's what you do. You go home, you click on YouTube. You don't click on channel 800 that's Moto or ESPN or whatever, so it's, or 333 on DirecTV was MTV. It's like you don't do that anymore. That's why I think it's important, and that's why I'm putting effort into it, is because I own the content. I'm building my channel. My sponsors, they're all of course happy with it because I'm getting like almost 2.6 million views in the last 28 days, my thing says, and it's like, of course they're stoked. But then it all comes back to me. It's like the merch that I'm wearing or whatever, like new drops I have, I can promote there. I can promote my movie on YouTube. And kids are all like tuning in. So I think it's like a perfect platform. And it's like, I'm finally putting more effort into it recently rather than just like contests the last 5-6 years,
Man, I think it's super dope. Like I've been watching a bunch of your stuff, especially like knowing we're doing this, and you're just doing it so right. It's very true to you. Like it doesn't come across like you're a YouTuber, but it's still got that. I think it's still like hitting for the demographic that you're trying to get, and like there's just crazy money in it. Like if you can get to the point, which you will, where you'll get like 1 million subscribers in every video that you're doing. Like I mean, look at what the Deegans are doing, dude, and look at what they've been able to build off of that.
Yeah, they've been tackling it, and that's inspiring for me to see what they're doing. And I'm like, they're just kind of looking at it. I'm like, I think I can do it. I think I could pull off a successful channel. And I already had a lot of subscribers from the last few years because I'd put up Real Moto stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like, this is going to be fun, like I don't really care to do as much. I'm going to do X Games, of course. I'm going to do contests, but I'm kind of like, dude, I'm so worn out. Like, I just want to go hang out with my friends, go find some creative gap and then film it, and then, keep building that channel, because after contests and after when let's say I'm too injured or worn out or whatever, or if I don't feel like going 100 feet in the air off the Nitro World Quarter, then I can have my channel, So it's like, that's perfect. It's just kind of like a backup plan that's, it's a lot of fun too, so... And it's worth it. It's paying out, And then thank you to everybody for buying merch too, because that helps out too.
Yeah, and dude, there's a point too. Like when you've been through the grind that you've been through, there's just a point where like you just can't do it in the same way. Like for me, what I was saying about switching those cameras back and forward and looking at myself, like doing the interviews and then literally watching myself on a computer screen for every other second of the day, hearing my own voice. Like, I fucking hated myself. Like, I was so over it. And
it
like,
sucks watching your own stuff for sure.
Dude, I didn't want to talk to people in my like normal life. I didn't really want to socialize. Like, I was just like, even now sometimes I get home and I'm just like, I can't talk. Like, I'm done. I just need to literally just like fucking sit down and not have any interactions. And it's like, that grind like takes a toll on you. And like, I'm lucky now that we got it to the point where I've got like 2 awesome boys that work here. A lot of that stuff like I don't have to do anymore. But I'm guessing that it's like a similar thing for you where it's like, okay, I did the fucking construction. I worked the 2 jobs. I built the crazy ramps. I sent the crazy shit. Like, I did it and I'm fucking certified. And it's like, I can't do that forever. It's not viable. And I mean, with you guys, like, I got a risk of like burning out and being over it. You got a risk of fucking yourself up heavy. So it's like, there's a time where you have to just kind of put it to the side a bit.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of how contests are for me. Like, quarter pipe stuff is so gnarly. Nobody really posts what goes into practicing for quarter pipe, and like they choose to do it in July, and like, I don't know if people over the world look at Southern California's weather in that month, but it's like 105, like 100 consistently. You're 98, you're lucky it's under 100. It's only 98 today, but you're out in the sun riding quarter pipe, and then it's just kind of a lot of wear and tear on you, like stress, because at some point, well, you're airing like record heights every day, like for me a lot of times a day, and even that's dangerous. You have one funky pole or like a weird air, and it's like you're not just like 12 feet over a quarter pipe where you could like case the coping and knock yourself out. You're like 48 feet. I went 49 at the last X Games when I won, but 49 feet is no joke to be in the air, and you're doing that for a month and a half or 2 months going in. As soon as you find out that X Games is happening, eating right. I mean, that's why I have so much respect for racers, man, because moto is like that all the time. I mean, they're not going 100 feet or whatever it is, 80 feet in the air, but they are pushing their limits and going as fast as they can go and their bike can go all the time. You hit one little bump, like a weird square edge, if it's watered too much, you're breaking, bones, or you're lucky if you don't get really injured. So it's just that kind of consistency of that, something that gnarly kind of wears me out. And then after just the injuries in the last like few years, I mean, I need to get surgery at some point. I got to get surgery on both shoulders, probably get plates removed out of my leg or my pelvis at some point. And, but yeah, that's something that I would kind of get like worn out on as contests. But, that's why I'm just having more fun free riding, cause it's lower risk. And I think that's why I like free riding more than how racing was for me, because racing, you're pushing it all the time. Those guys are just the gnarliest athletes ever. They're eating the best food they can. They're training all the time, cardio, everything they're doing, the injuries they're trying to rehab and come back from, and then pushing it that hard every day on their bike is just insane. Where we, like, as free riders, we get to go out and hit like a really fun jump a few times, and then of course contests are going to be gnarly where we do get risky, but it's only like 1 month or 2 months out of the year where you have to be perfect. And there's something about like when you're racing, there's all this anxiety where you're just pushing it and you're moving at such a quick pace and handling so much stuff. It's such a high intensity of focus with everything else that they do. But for us, it's like an 8-second burst of focus. Like, okay, I got to go hit this quarter pipe. I got to give it full throttle. I got to handle the pop off the lip and not like let my legs give out and get the right pull. And if I do that, then I can spot the landing and stomp it. And then after that, it's like I get to breathe again. Where they're like 30 minutes plus 2, just, it's just gnarly, man. I wish that they paid the racers a lot more money, because I think it would make the industry a lot cooler even to watch. I think, like, who likes to watch golf? I could care less. But I'll watch it because they're making millions of dollars, and that's interesting. Just the money part's interesting.
Yeah.
Where in moto, they're really not making a ton of money, and unless they have a big energy drink sponsor and they're winning consistently over the like span of 4 or 5 years, you can stack up some serious cash. But look at like 15th place. I mean, you guys talk about it all the time. You guys have covered it. It's just you're making like you're breaking even if you're getting 10th. You know, it seems like, and that's if you don't injure yourself, and that's if you have sponsors. 10th, I mean, maybe 15th, but you're really not making a ton. And I think when people tune in to watch it, they go, well, this is crazy. This is interesting. It looks great. How much are they making? And then they hear, and it's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? For the money. But the effort they put in, and I think that, and I think Four Strokes also kind of killed it. Like, who wants to go spend 10 grand on a bike and then go pay money to ride it, and then maintenance, and then crash, and then bend your bars, and then spend $200 on bars? And it's like, I think back when two strokes were $3,000, it was a lot more. You could actually do it. Go buy a bike, put it on your credit card, $3,000, go ride, go moto, you know, crash, but your bars, like your bike's just blow a top end, few $100 to fix it. Simple to fix. You could do it yourself in your garage. I think moto just it needs to get a little bit. Or you just come from a really cool family that wants to back you and you're blessed to do it, and then, you know, you're a racer. It's just hard to pull it off. Like, I got a lot of credit for the guys that are privateers for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are probably going to get sick of me talking about it, and Americans probably just going to fucking hate on me continuously for it. But I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, me and Hill talked about it, and I hadn't really thought of it until me and Hill spoke the other day, was that I really think that this World Supercross thing is going to help those guys that just want to kind of like dip out of the grind. Because you're right, dude, like, and I mean, even for me, right? So like, I'll do jiu-jitsu and I try and train like most days. And for me to like be here and be like on and focused and like in my head in the game while we're doing these shows, like it's a long time. It's not easy to like stay in this, you know, and then to like drink a bunch of water so that I can go and sweat my nuts out at training, and then like eat enough food to be good, and then like get enough sleep, like get 8 hours of sleep and have it be
to get
good
back
sleep.
To it. Yeah.
You know, and it's like I wear this like Garmin thing, and it's like you constantly see like your HRV, like your heart rate variability. And then that's like what a lot of the pro dudes are doing, is like they're monitoring that heart rate variability to like stay in the middle of where like you should be. That's like your body's indicator of like, are you recovering? Are you healthy? And it's like, dude, just it's literally a mission to keep my heart rate variability and my sleep in the right spot. And like I can, like the other day I did it to myself. Like you can like bury yourself. Like I flew, I come home, I worked, I went and did a midday training, and then we went to World Games. We got back super late, and then all those factors combined, I had a terrible night's sleep, and then I didn't hydrate enough, and I got up in the morning and I was like, dude, there's no way I can do a good podcast today. Like I'm fucking ruined. And it's like, that's one gnarly day. And you think about what these supercross guys and motocross guys are doing, like they're living, like you feel like you're on a razor's edge when you're like really trying to get the most out of your body. And it's like these guys, that's their fucking life. Like their life is spent Monday to Thursday burying themselves. Then they got a Friday to travel. And if it's across the country, you're dealing with like a 3-hour time difference. And then you've got a race. Think about like the performance anxiety, contracts. Like you said, maybe you're not making that much money. Maybe you're worried about, or like you've got a niggling injury. You know you're not going to get a top 10. You know you're going to lose your ride. It's fucking gnarly, dude. And I think that
it's so gnarly, man.
Yeah, and I think that with the way that this like World Supercross stuff is, that like you can't ride through the week because you've got to like travel. You've got this international travel schedule. So it's like you get in on a Monday. Then they got like press Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you got like Friday, Saturday where you're on the bike. So it's like these guys are only going to be able to just do like these sporadic little bits of training to like keep themselves going. And I think that it puts everyone in the same boat. So now everyone's like building their program around doing this like gnarly off season, getting in shape, and then you just know that once you're on the road for this series, you're just not going to be able to ride all the time, and you're not going to be exposed to the same risk. And it's like Daniel Ricciardo ain't in an F1 car 7 days or 4 days a week and then racing on the weekend. Jack Miller's not on a MotoGP bike 4 days before the race and then racing on the weekend. Like it's a way more like normal schedule.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they're breaking it up because like a lot of the guys are like, oh, I'm not going to do World Supercross, but I'll do AMA. And it's like, okay, well, cool. You guys just weeded out some of the top guys. So now you've got privateers who are just putting in the most effort too, that they can actually go out and make money. It's like in MMA, you've got Bellator and then you've got UFC. So I just think it's cool you split it up because the AMA doesn't care who's putting in the most effort. There's 20 spots on the gate, the main event, and if you're not in it, we don't really care. AMA is Feld's making their money, and on to the next race. Sorry guys, try harder. That's like how it feels probably for them, for privateers and watching how many guys, because the privateers are bad dudes too. Like I raced and rode arena cross, and I've ridden supercross tracks, dude. That stuff is so gnarly. Like you come out of a turn, it's wet, there's a lip, and then 65 feet over there's another like lip that's pretty sharp and it's a landing, and then there's a berm. It's like don't OJ it and don't case it, and it's a triple. That stuff is seriously gnarly. I can't believe that they continue building. Like you guys can't build some stuff. It's like a little safe. You see how many injuries there is, but that's a whole nother subject. But I think it's cool to weed it out because now hopefully a lot more guys get the opportunity to make more money, and they deserve it, man. Like they put in so much effort compared to other sports. Everyone, it's hard to be at the top of any sport, like for sure. But it just seems like moto guys are busting their asses so much harder with so much risk and injuries. And yeah, it's a lot, man. They definitely deserve to get paid a lot more. And I think if they were to get paid a lot more, people would tune in more to watch. It'd put it in a different category,
Yeah, man, I completely agree. Like that's part of the appeal of like F1 and MotoGP and golf, like you said, is like these dudes are playing for millions of dollars, and it's like,
and that's what makes it fun to watch.
100%, man.
And I watched this thing like all ball sports. It's 50% pro payback to ball sports, so baseball, soccer, football. It's all 50% of what I think the stadium makes or something, but it's 50% payback. UFC, that's where I looked it up because UFC was complaining about it was like 20% was payback, and the UFC fighters are getting concussions and injuries, and it's like, okay, look how many concussions and injuries moto dudes are getting, and guess what their payback is? It's 8%. So it's like, dude, that ain't even close. Like Feld and these guys are making a killing, and we looked it up, like you can calculate it. Look how many seats are in the Angel Stadium, and look how many seats are filled. Yeah. And then calculate that by an average of the seats, the ticket sales. Feld makes the money off ticket sales. They got to hire their flaggers and stuff and the TV, and I'm sure they have a decent overhead, but the stadium makes money off the parking, and it's a math equation. It's not that hard to look it up. Yeah. And then the riders are getting what? $200,000 is the payback for 40 spots at the main events. It's like 8%. It's nothing. It's insane. And people watch it, fee. And I think that's why it's like
for the riders.
Yeah, you got to pay to do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're like having a good time, and for some dudes like they're finding chicks or whatever after, because it seems like that's the only reason why they're doing it. A lot of these guys, it's like you're going to pay money, go out there, you're not having a good time on the track, dude. You're sweating the whoops every lap. If you crash, like you're getting hurt and like getting landed on and cleaned out and in the first turn, and hopefully you look sweet afterwards, and hopefully it's worth it. But I wouldn't personally, like, that's what's so hard, and that's why there's so much pressure on the 16-year-old kids coming up. It's like, get a factory ride because at least everything's paid for. And that's where a lot of the pressure, and that's the make or break right there. And that's what it was for me too. It's like between the parents splitting and then how much money bikes cost, 10 G's, without even putting money into the bike yet for motor and suspension and bars and everything else. It's like, dude, there's a lot of pressure on a kid to get the factory ride. And I think that's why free riding is the sickest, because you don't have to have a good tire. You don't have to have race gas or a modded motor. You could bend. I rode for years with like bent bars. I bent subframe back in the day, dude. I'd show up, like my friends that worked at Sunbelt Rentals, the equipment company, TIG welded my subframe all crooked, and I rode that for forever, dude. I looked like the most roach dude. I didn't even have a front brake. But you don't need that in free riding. You know, you could go throw a big whip, 1-footer, get a dope angle, and then you post it. You're getting more views than a guy that just blitzed his gnarliest whoops. And then you just look a lot cooler anyways because you're just having a good time. It's fun. And you're not spending a lot. You're not making a lot in free riding unless you have a good YouTube channel or sponsors, or you're doing freestyle shows. It's like the only ways to make money without contests. But you're not spending a lot of money either. So it's like, you know, you don't have a lot of overhead. Like I'm riding the same tire. I don't even put new tires on my bikes. I like them when they're bald because they don't chew up the dirt lip. You see guys like, got a fresh Dunlop, I'm going to the hills. It's like, dude, you're going to annihilate the takeoff that we just spent like 3 days patching and shoveling. How about don't bring your brand new tires to the hills? So it's like you don't really need to do a lot of maintenance to your bike. Ride a bald tire, you know, ride an old chain. Your chain snaps, well, good thing you're hitting a big lofty step up with a grass landing. You could just bail. It's like you don't want your chain to snap, but I'm just saying it's not as crucial.
Yeah, the risk.
You know, pump 91 into it right out of the gas station and go have fun all day long. And that's probably the only money you spent was driving there and the gas in your bike, you know?
Dude, and I think it's rad. Like, respect to you for having the combo. Like, obviously, you don't have any, like, there's no risk of you fucking saying that these guys should be paid more. But, like, I just don't even really remember a time in the sport where, like, this conversation was as prevalent in it to where it's like, because I really feel like this kind of heat is what has kind of, like, led to people getting paid more money or people, like, asking for more money. And to me, like, I remember... This like pisses me off. Like I remember when Roxon pulled up to the press conference in like 17 and he pulled up in like a Honda, like that super fucking expensive Honda, and he was wearing a suit and a Breitling and people were shitting on him. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. He should be rich.
Yeah.
Like why is it not okay
dude,
for him?
That's what...
Like let him be rich, bro.
Yeah, I
like,
don't care to watch a dude... I don't care to watch a dude fucking lean over and tap a fucking golf ball and shit, but when you find out they're making millions of dollars, you're like, holy shit, that makes it kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna figure out like what is he doing to make $1 million? Why is this so cool? Because they're not getting injured. It's achievable. Like I said with BMX, you don't have to own a dirt bike and a dad with a truck to take you riding as a kid. You can just jump on your BMX bike and go jump. It was same with golf, but the racing. I think it's going to take something big like everybody to go on strike and be like, hey, Feld, we're not racing. You need to pay us more, you know, like 8% payback or whatever, roughly. It's like, dude, come on, guys. Are you kidding me? But if everybody's showing up every event, you know, privateers are lining up and paying money. It's like, why should Feld ever why should they ever pay you more? You guys are stacking the classes out to race. There's plenty of guys right there to fill the gates. So what do they give it? You know, they don't give a shit. So, I'm a moto head. I'm looking at all of it. I watch every race, all the practice. I'm way into it, dude. I watch all the podcasts. It's all I give a shit about. That, BMX, and then I watch Street League, skating, action sports, dude. I'm like an encyclopedia. I know about all of it. It's my favorite thing. So, but yeah, I think racing, man, if they're not paying these guys more money, if you hear they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a night and stuff like that, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like McGregor, dude, the guy makes all that money fighting. Who's tuning in? Everybody's tuning in because they want to see this guy make 10 mil a night, or Mayweather. Yeah. So I think they'll actually benefit by paying the riders more. You know, giving it that look, show up in a suit to the press conference. Yeah. Yeah, man, I completely agree. And there's a way to be rich without being a dickhead. And it's like, it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like the narrative, I think it's like people look down on people that make a bunch of money in moto for some reason. Like there's a weird kind of like connotation around it. And I mean, that just seems, I don't know, dude. I think it's just jealousy, dude. I think there's a lot of jealous moto riders out there. Yeah. Yeah, that just can't be, man. No, it's sweet. When Bubba's World went off and he was doing all kinds of cool shit, he had a Ferrari or something, I forget, maybe a Lambo or whatever. He was killing it. Highest paid rider at the time. Like, that did so much for the sport. It's like guys should be making more money and doing cooler stuff with their money. And, you know, it shouldn't be just a couple guys making all the money. I think privateers, and I think that's sweet with World Super. It's like, okay, if you don't want to ride your bike as much, you don't have to do World Supercross, dude. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Give the guys who can do it. Like it was cool watching the last one. Hill got third, right, in one of the races. I was watching those. And it's cool. You just see like a different crowd, And I wish they raced 3 times a week if they could do that, because Golden State Warriors play 3 times a week,
Yeah.
I'm watching Steph Curry. Like when I'm laid up injured and I got nothing to do, I'm watching NBA. It's like, oh, what, they're playing again and again. And I'm like, okay, I got to watch the same Supercross race. Like I can watch it once or twice through, but then I get bored. It's like I wish they raced every other day too, So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It'd be sweet to see that, man.
Yeah, and you actually, I hadn't really thought about that. Like if you, like that whole Bubba thing, and like when he was making a bunch of money, and you just get like an average punter would be like, wait, he makes how much just like riding a bike? Because
Yeah.
I think from the outside, yeah, people just would not have the same level of like respect for the sport on the general. But as soon as you,
No.
like if I said to one of my friends that like wasn't moto, I'd be like, yeah, he makes fucking $9 million a year. Then people would be like,
Yeah.
wait, what? He makes that much money for riding a dirt bike? Like that actually is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, and in our sport, no one even wants to say how much money they make. And like I did the press conference thing the other day with Kenny, and I just said, I was like, I think you need to ask these dudes for like $2 million. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, he should. And then we should celebrate that. We should be like, Kenny's making fucking $3 million this year. Like that's super dope. And
Yeah,
then people
dude,
on
it
the
should be,
outside.
like, yeah, that's like, Tiger Woods makes like 145 mil a year or something. One of the years it's like the highest paid or whatever. It's like, dude, I want to see what the hell's going on with that. Like, I don't know about golf. I have no clue, dude. I seriously, it's like the opposite of what I'm attracted to, which is gnarly, fast, crazy, out of control stuff. And fun stuff. Golf just looks so boring. Given it is fun if you go out with your boys and stuff. But the professional part of it, I don't care to watch it. But you find out guys are making that much money, and you're like, dude, yeah, I got to see what they're doing to make that much money. Like, why?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you heard tune into Supercross and you don't know anything about it, you turn it on. You're like, this looks cool. I see energy drink sponsors. It looks prestigious. It looks professional. How much are they making? And then you're like, I think they make 10 grand for first place in a main event. It's like, well, that guy looks like he's about to totally just break himself in half doing all this stuff. It looks so dangerous. They highlight all the crashes, and it just looks like a carnival event from an outsider looking in that doesn't know how gnarly it is. It's like you see the crash reels. These guys are making what? Okay, but then, add the bonuses. But we don't even know what their bonuses are. We don't even know what the energy drink sponsors are paying or what the teams pay. It's all hidden. So it's like, as far as I know, I go on my phone and Google it, Supercross payout, 10 grand for first, 5 for second. It's like, dude, how much money? And a bike's 10 grand and you haven't even put any parts on it yet. It's just, back in the day, bikes were so cheap. You could pull up to Anaheim in a pickup truck, sign up, have a fast lap. And it's like, okay, I think they're making the same amount of money they made back then. Mm. You pull up, you're not making a lot, but you didn't spend a lot. So it's like, yeah, that looks fun. I'm going to go get a bike, try it out, go out in the hills. So anyway, something needs to happen with that. But yeah, I'm just blessed to be in the free riding spot where I get to do that every day,
Yeah, Colby Raha spitting facts about Soupy. I fucking love it. I'm here for
it. Dude, that's all I do, man. It's moto.
We'll go back to the movie a little bit. Dude, Scranny, like Hill told me like ages ago, like in one of his first podcasts, he's like, there's this dude Scranny, and like wait till you see the shit that he's doing. Like there are some people out there, and Broski as well, like there's some people out there that I think when they watch Narnia, they're gonna be like, holy shit, I never knew that was going down on dirt bikes.
Yeah, and that's like that's what's cool is like, I mean, I've known Scranny for like 7 years or something, and I met him out at the Swan Pound for like a fest series thing with all the big mountain bikers. Anyways, even back then, he had so much talent doing handstands on bikes, juggling, standing on a seat, just like crazy stuff, like riding a dirt bike, standing on the seat, throwing frisbees. And And he always talked to, oh, I got these spots, man. I'm going to jump from this building to this building. I'm going to jump on this sign. Or he wouldn't even, like, a lot of the times he'd be like, hey, if you want for real moto, dude, I will show you this spot. It's insane. And he always would offer. And I just never really made my way out to go do them or whatever. I was busy at other spots or something. But then for him to step up and actually pull the trigger on doing all those jumps and all those gnarly stunts and then build a part in this movie, I think it's, look, I mean, how many times we brought his name up already? I think whoever doesn't know Scranny after they watch the movie, the guy's going to be like known for sure. His part's insane. He's got creative stuff, risky stuff. He's breaking like, laws and stuff, but not really putting, that's like, you're breaking a law, but you're not putting anybody in danger, so nobody press charges. But he's jumping off roofs, he's going off, and then he's doing huge road gaps. So he's also going massive. So the guy really, like, I didn't know he had all that. I knew he could do a lot of that stuff, but to see him pull it off and then build such an epic part is just insane, man. I'm just happy for him, and I'm stoked that he was able to do all that and let us use that for our movie.
And do you know where he's at in like his recovery? Because he took that fucking huge digger, man. Like he really got messed up.
Yeah, he was just at the premiere last week, and he's got full movement and stuff. I mean, it's a long road, and I'm devastated for him, man, because he pulled the road gap off a few times clean, and he did his trick and stuff, and then you kind of just want more out of it, and he did it again, and I don't even know what happened either. You have to watch the movie with the crash, but yeah, it's just terrible injury. He's such a beast, man. The guy's so tough, and he's coming back from it. I mean, he's getting there. So everybody make sure to go check out Scranny on Instagram. He'll be tagged in my stuff, or his handle is at SKRANY. Yeah, you got to check him out. Stay tuned on what his recovery, because once you see the movie, you're gonna want to know what he's up to. It's Scranny 235, so SKRANY 235, and yeah, he posts about it. He's got some of his stuff right there, photos and screenshots of some of his stunts. But yeah, his part is definitely one of the favorites in the movie by everybody. He got some of the loudest reactions in the crowd during the premieres, as he should. That stuff's insane, and yeah, happy for him, man. That's a really cool part.
Yeah, and it's so unique. Like it's like when you watch that part with Scranny, it's almost like he's never watched another dirt bike video before, and it's like he almost never knew how things should be done. And he just did.
He's doing
it's
stuff
like,
that's way
it's
different.
like a mix between Jackass or like CKY, and then like a skate movie part, like a Pretty Sweet, or like a how they've got like the little intermission or like the little cutaway scenes, you know what I mean? And he's got he's a character, and then he just throws down at the same time. It's one of the most unique dirt bike things I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's got like the creative stuff, that off the wall stuff that you're like, what is that? You gotta see the movie. I don't want to give too much of it away, but and then he also throws down like hammers, like big gnarly stuff to show that he can actually go big and like have style and do big gnarly stuff too. So just all around, just an awesome part. And that's what's I'm so stoked on the movie, is it's not all about me. It's giving guys like some of my friends like Scranny and Broski their own segment. It's like an old skate video or BMX team where each rider has his own part, and you'll remember that part. And also I was told to make sure to shout out, we're doing we already filmed it, and so when the movie comes out, it's gonna be Power Band Films. It's a podcast with Verb Moto puts it on with Wes. Dope. And we go into detail about a lot of stuff on the movie, because it was 2 years of filming with like 6 main characters. It's not just all about me, and there's stories to every single one of these things, with cops and crashes and recoveries and flips and records and building these jumps. And like we built the distance jump, and it was in the team that built it for us. They put it in the wrong spot, and we had it permitted, so it had to be moved. And it's just, insane, but a lot of that stuff will go into more detail on that. We already filmed it. It's like, I don't know how long each episode is, but we bring in Hill Sack. Scranny will probably be on there. We're going to film with him. So, but yeah, that's going to be a whole separate thing too. And that movie, man, what a crazy event, dude. It was cool to pull it off at the end, but man, that was no like walk in the park for that movie, man. You'll see like in it just the amount of things that went wrong, and then just all the cool stuff too. It was cool.
Yeah, to
Big
pull
mission.
something, yeah, to pull something like that together is just got to be insane. And especially, I just like, how did you go to get the funding for it as well? Because I just feel like that's probably one of the gnarliest challenges as well. Is just it's such a underfunded industry, I guess, like free ride in a sense. So for you to pull
Yeah.
that like the funding together,
Yeah.
like how did it come up? How did it come about?
Yeah, so it was really it was hard to pull funding in because it's a movie, you know, and it's kind of like a risk, and it's kind of a handshake deal almost. With obviously there's contracts, but you're kind of like, hey, this movie's gonna be huge, it's gonna be cool, and we have to build this jump to pull it off, and this jump's gonna cost 250 grand to build. And me and Jay, we really we had to kind of front a lot of the money to pull it, but we were so just grateful to have companies. DeVille is this vodka soda drink, and they came in and basically saved us at the end of the movie because we had to move that jump, and without DeVille coming in at the very end to help us, that whole thing probably might not have happened because I was pretty much tapped out myself on funding stuff, and I know Jay was pretty over having to self-fund a lot of stuff to make the movie happen. And then we just have our whole lineup with Carson City Motorsports. They're out there by the jump. It's in Reno, so Carson City Motorsports helped out a lot. And then Margin RVs and Go Big Truck Performance. And if you look at the banner on my page, and you'll see throughout the whole movie, I mean, my brand helped out. And yeah, it was a lot, man. It cost a ton of money. And finally, the movie's completed, and we should be able to see some money come back. We're doing our own public premieres. So we're going to do one in LA, one in San Diego, one in Las Vegas, Reno, Nevada, up by Carson City, and maybe a Portland. And I heard we're definitely doing a Scottsdale, Arizona one. So, and these
That'll
will
be
be
dope.
like fun with like live bands and, jump shows, BMX 110 stuff, parking lot parties and after parties, and just a fun event. And I'd love for everybody to come out, watch the movie, and have fun, and kind of do like an old school type premiere where everybody can get crazy and celebrate.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the cool things about doing a movie is just, yeah, you definitely, as much as I love the internet, as much as I love YouTube, like it's kind of where we're at, but just to have that old school feeling, like there is something super tangible about making a full length movie, having the premiere, like having this hard copy that, that's, I don't know, it just feels like that it's something that becomes like more of a real world thing than like just on a screen.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off with it. And it was definitely difficult because for Scranny and guys like that, and it's just hard because they're doing some of the biggest stuff they've done in their whole lives, and to keep it secret and not post it is it's a whole thing. And we had issues. We'd go out to spots and we'd spend 20 grand just on like it was equipment, renting the property, getting the helicopter lined up. Getting Beverly Hills Aerials is a huge sponsor. Those guys are insane. Best drone FPV guys flying around with like 1,000 frame a second drones. I mean, we put all this together and we hire 5 camera operators, and everybody's out there. We get the water truck. We're in like 25,000 bucks or something on the shoot. We get Bierman to come out, Jared McNeil, Hillsack, Adam Jones, and all that. You'll see all the riders in there, and it's like we pull all this off to get everybody together, and and then nobody posts. Don't post anything, We'll have riders show up, friends of friends or whatever, and then it's like, you guys realize that I just dropped like 12,500 bucks on this shoot, and so did Jay, 50-50 on that, and you guys are not our boys. Our boys know the difference, but I'm talking about like some of the randoms that would come out, or just
Yeah.
spectators that were happen to be friends of the truck drivers or whatever. And it's like they're posting stuff without asking, and we don't have service. We're out in the middle of nowhere, free riding out like some big hills outside of Santa Barbara, and then the clips go on the internet and they start getting viral and reposted. It's a battle nowadays, you know what I mean, to make a movie. And I'm like, I want to post some of the stuff I did too, but
Yeah.
you gotta wait. And all the writers collectively all had to wait. And yeah, it's a whole task, man, but it's just a dream come true to make a movie. And I kind of didn't know what to expect. I wanted to make kind of a lower end, like Crusty Demons, funny punk rock, like get music right, still do iTunes deal, but just make something kind of like a modern day Krusty's. And working with Jay, he really stepped up, and he has such a high standard and such
Yeah.
a creative mind for making a movie, not just like kind of a YouTube style project, but more of like this movie qualifies for Netflix, Hulu, and it has that feel like you're watching in like a HBO or like a Gold Rush on Discovery Channel feel when we're going for the jump. And it's just such a high-end project. I had no idea what I was getting myself into in the beginning. I figured, hey, let's invite some cool writers, get some cool cameras, maybe get a chopper or whatever, rent it, and make a cool movie and get music rights and put it on iTunes. But it turned out to be like, we need the biggest hard drives, the best computers to process it. We need a Titleist guy, motion effects. John DeTemple at Dink about it, I think his Instagram is. That dude's the best. He made all of our titles, all of our motion graphics. We're just hiring so many people, and so many people are actually helping us out to do it too. That's where we scored with all Jay's connections and these filmers doing deals for us, and everybody's giving us deals. And it still was like, even without our sponsors, we're still put in like close to $100,000 each, just funding everything, and I'm sure we'll get it all back, and that's a gamble in itself too, But I think it also kind of just launched what could be a career in long distance jumping for me. And I think if you watch towards the end of the movie, you'll see what we were able to pull off with the team. Alex Harville's ramp and his coaches, and Ryan Capes' coaches, and that's all connections I met through Jay and all his guys, and just the radar guns with the right speed and the right numbers and the right ramp, and we got the landing figured out. And you'll see it's a whole process, but I think all in all, it's just one of those things, you go for it, gamble, and see what happens with the movie. And I think when it comes out, a lot of people are going to see a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of different like urban style riding stuff that you're not used to seeing, not like everyday free riding that in the dirt and dunes and that, but it's got all that, but it also has like illegal kind of like street skateboard BMX style stuff, jumping off roofs, and I think it's definitely like progresses. It's showing like modern day progression of what free riding can become and what's happening with it and where it's going. And I'm just happy. I can't even believe it's my movie and it's all come together. And man, I'm just glad it's behind me now, and I can't wait to get started on the next project, going bigger and jumping bigger stuff. And
dude, the soundtrack is impressive too. Like, I didn't know what to expect in the soundtrack in that kind of deal, because nowadays it's so hard to get like that level of music. And then it's like Offspring, Avenged Sevenfold. I was like, God damn,
no
the boys
effects,
ain't playing.
Slayer. We got TSOL. Avenged Sevenfold. Some 41s in there. A lot of big songs. So our soundtrack is insane too. Like I said, I can't believe we pulled it off with Jay's help and my kind of style and some of my creative mixed with his professional creative on stuff, and it's just a good mix. Me and him working together, and it shows. You'll see.
How does that music stuff work these days? Like, to license that, like, do you know how much you guys would have spent on the soundtrack?
Oh yeah, music, man. I think it's up to like 50,000 or something in music, which is a steal, and it's a lot of relationship stuff. Like, if you were to reach out to Slayer and you're like, hey, I want your biggest song, and then they'd be like, okay, what's this for? Okay, 20 grand. But you know, Kerry King, and you know, we know people that know him, and with kind of like Jay's been in this game for 20 years, I think, maybe 30, I forget, but on the Pipe series and Moto Triple X before that, he was helping a lot with that. That's all connections through punk rock and bands know other bands. So with having those types of relationships through Jay, and you know, I've gotten hooked up from Suicidal with help from Militia and Link Ogle and stuff, and for Real Moto. But it all kind of just, it's like favors, you know, for the movie. A lot of people helped out. Filmers are giving us their homie rates, and just a ton of people. I mean, if you look at the credits, you'll have to actually like check them out, because those are the people that really helped us out a lot, you know?
Yeah. What was the first album that got you like into music?
I remember like I was saying, when I'm 4 years old watching Steel Roots, you know, I'd pop that in, because VCRs back then, you wanted to watch movies because it was better than what was on cable, you know? So Steel Roots 2, I watched that thing all the time. So Offspring, so my dad had an Offspring CD, and he always had huge subs in his truck hooked up and stuff. So we'd, you know, blast that, and Megadeth was one that stands out to me, Symphony of Destruction. That one, man, I still, like, I can play that so loud in my van, and it brings me right back to when I was a kid. And I mean, what else? I think my dad used to blast Limp Bizkit back when I was like 7 years old.
So
and he'd
dope.
try to turn it down before the cuss words, but like he'd miss it or whatever. And I'd be like, dude, this guy, Chocolate Starfish, you know, that was like that album. My dad would blast that. And when we'd go riding too. So he'd put on like, I mean, later on it was like System of a Down and stuff. And we'd blast that going to the track, and then coming home, you know, we like Megadeth, and it just as loud as it could go, and it was so much fun, man. It felt like we were like in Steel Roots too, you know, listening to the same songs. I'm like, that's when McGrath does that knack knack and Ocotillo when they say that part of the song, and you know, so yeah, that's kind of like just from those moto movies.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. Like, we were driving back, and I was like asking the boys at work here. I was like, oh, what was like the shit that got you into music? Because like, I feel like there's a point where you like listen to music, but you're not really into music. And then there's like one album or one song that where you're like, holy fuck, like I get it. I get why people like music. And yeah, dude, that's funny you said that about Chocolate Starfish. I got suspended for school for having that and like playing that song in school in a Walkman.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that crazy back then? I don't know. I feel like back then music was like you hear a song and he's talking about all kinds of crazy shit. And I remember listening to like some of the old Blink-182 stuff when I was like 7, because my brother's 5 years older than me. So he always had the new stuff. And I was young. He's 12 and I'm 7. So all the cuss words and stuff. And nowadays, man, you put on anything and it's just like, they're talking about like pills and Xanax, this and that, and drugs. And I'm like, the kids know the words. I'm like, shit, dude, shit's getting out of line here. But I don't know, whatever. I mean, we went there. Like, Limp Bizkit's hilarious, man. That shit cracks me up.
Dude, yeah, I remember too, like, the Chronic 2001 was like the dopest album to me. And I was like, everyone around me smoked weed, like when I was a kid. And like all my friends and everything like that, but we were like super anti anything, like just the way that we grew up. That I would just blast weed music like constantly before I ever even smoked weed. And I think now, like, obviously, like you grow up and then you know you like figure it out. But like just loving like weed music essentially as like a fucking 10 and 11-year-old. Like, I think back now, like it's fucking crazy, and it's the same for like these guys. You know, like I was talking to Rones, and he's like, yeah, Juice WRLD was like the album that like made me love music, and to me that fucking blows my mind. But it's like he's talking about like lean pills, like they're just being fucked up like 24/7.
Like all the new rappers, I I haven't dug into new rap that much because like I'll put on one song and I'm like, yeah, this is all right, you know. But then I'm like, what is going on here with some of this stuff? And I don't know any of the like new rappers that much. Like YG is like one of the only ones, and that's because you go to parties and chicks don't want to listen to fucking Slayer, you know, and Megadeth and shit. They want to listen to like YG and Drake and shit, and like Drake's a whole trip. Like, but and I'll listen to that stuff out there. I listen to like a lot of different stuff, but I never really listened to rap growing up, you know. It's always like whatever the moto like movies had in them, you know. Like
Yeah.
Nitro would come out and we'd get the albums. Or my brother was into rock and roll and he had a rock band growing up and stuff and played shows. So I was always into like whatever the rock stuff was coming out. Like I don't know. It seemed like System of the Down and stuff. And now that stuff's kind of died out, and it seems like there's more rap, and I don't know anymore. I just like listening to old school stuff, you know. Like
Yeah.
I'll put on Leonard Skinner and just have the best time driving to the hills or whatever, and just crank some like old Creedence Clearwater Survival or something. So, but yeah, I grew up on like a lot of Megadeth. It seemed like that was my dad's favorite band, I think. So
Yeah, action sports and music were just so intertwined. And I wonder, I mean, I'd love to actually get some of those bands on the podcast at some point and just to get their perspective on action sports, because it really did feel like they both fueled each other. Like Moto needed a soundtrack, and those guys needed an audience. Or they needed someone to listen to their songs. And it almost seemed like they both kind of fed off each other. And I wonder if they think that, if they look at action sports as like, they made our music, you know?
yeah, it's hard to say. I think maybe back when they were doing Vans Warped Tour and it was like freestyle shows and music, and then like Moto Triple X movies, they all had music because a lot of the guys that made those DVDs, those guys were in bands and stuff too. Like I know Jordan Burns and Strung Out, and he had a lot of connections, and obviously he's going on tour with these bands. So that's kind of how I think that all worked out with those old school movies, and Dana Freeman and John Freeman and stuff. I think that they all had the friends, and that was all like it seemed like the same industry. It's weird like what's happening now though. It's like punk rock and rock and roll. It seems like it's not where it used to be, and I think maybe that's kind of what faded away. Maybe they don't feel like they needed action sports anymore, but definitely like Offspring, I know those guys used to be like skaters and BMXers and stuff, and like I think it all went with each other back then, and nowadays I don't even know what's going on anymore. So I'm trying to find like new punk rock bands that are killing it, you know, but it's just, I think it's a money thing. Like people want to hear rap a lot more, so they're paying people to be rappers, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no,
it's crazy.
Yeah, we did. It sort of went to like, so when I was in the States, we used to go to Warped Tour like a lot. Like I pretty much went to Warped Tour every year, and then we started working with like a couple of bands, and like we'd film them doing Warped Tour. But it started going into like it was like different. It was like a different style. It was like you had one screamo dude, and then you had one like real melodic, like kind of singy sort of guy, and it kind of just like went into like that new genre, like Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, like, and they were like the kind of the Warped Tour bands, and then they'd still bring back like the old school guys like Sum 41, Yellow Card, like there was always still those guys there, but it seemed like that it just didn't really fit the action sports vibe because it went into like that real melodic sort of style.
Yeah, like really emo and stuff. So it's, I don't know. I think it's just it's a business thing. Like whatever it was, the emo bands were getting paid more, or like people were watching them, or they're getting music on the radio, and so people just gravitated towards that. I really don't like to listen to too much of the screamo stuff. Like I like when I go to a festival, there seems like there's like a stage with all the new bands, and like I'll go watch AFI just because their old music was classic and they killed it live. But I went to the stage and watched Rob Zombie and like Suicidal Tendencies. I went to a huge festival in Montreal after Minneapolis one year, and I don't know. I wish there was more heavy metal bands that kept it like old school and gnarly, you know. And I think there is a couple in my playlists and stuff, but I'm still kind of just finding new stuff to listen to.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of like your Instagram when you'll play like like Leonard Skinner and like Credence and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, Colby fucks.
Yeah, I'll put on like Rancid or Transplants or whatever, like Rob Zombie. I just keep blasting Rob Zombie, like whatever it is. Like, I don't know, it just gets me hyped. I like rap too, old school rap. I like the like the Chronic album and all that stuff, and like that stuff's cool. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems like I can turn up the rock so much louder, and it's just like roots.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Leonard Skinner. So when I did that wheelie into the pool at that casino,
yeah.
I had a shirt because I went to Leonard Skinner in Ontario, and I got a shirt. And I told my friend, I go, hey, you're in the merch line, go get me a shirt. And he comes back with a shirt. It says Leonard fucking Skinner. And I wore that day out in Reno. And it was the Cams Inc. Invitational. And they had this contest, like, it was a King of the Road pamphlet. And it was like, pierce your nipple, get 100 points. Jump over a homeless bum or whatever, get 1,000 points. Whoever like French kisses the most chicks gets 1,000. It was this whole pamphlet, and like everyone's going off like I forget, they had all the best trick of the week gets this many points, like best overall style of the week gets this many points. So like I didn't even really like look through the pamphlet, but I was hanging out with Josh Hill, and we're all doing wheelies in the parking lot and getting crazy, and we're at the pool, and I was hanging out at the pool, like the cabanas, and I talked to this dude and like, hey, you know how many Instagram dudes are here? These guys have like big accounts, man. They're all influencers, like Action Sports. You should give us a free cabana and a bottle. And he's just like, really? Well, I don't know about that. And I'm like, well, dude, they gave us all free rooms. They comped us all rooms. Like, they told us to film here. They want their casino to be known. So that's our job. So, man, you should talk to your guy, give us a cabana and we'll all post about it. He's all right. So he gets us a cabana, and I'm like, he's all right, bottle's like $600. I'm like, what, dude? That bottle's like $40, man. We're doing you a favor. Give me the bottle. I'll give you a tip. I gave him a couple $100. He gave us a bottle. And so anyway, we're all hanging out. We weren't even really riding that day. It was just like the last day. And then Josh Hill, we're like, oh, let's go. We're going to do wheelies around the parking lot. They're filming. Next thing you know, hey, I found this gap, dude. It's like a 12-stair over handrail into the street, and then it links into like another 7 stairs. So we're jumping on our 450s, riding through like the where you park and the whole I don't know, wherever you park, like the main entrance of the thing. We're riding around. People are looking at us like getting out of our way, like, what the hell are these guys doing? And then I'm like, I don't know what I just thought. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna take this bike through the casino. I'm going out to the pool, and then I know all the pool people. Like, I just talked to the main dudes about giving us a free cabana, and I gave them the whole talk about how we're doing promotion for this casino. So I like ride into the casino. I'm like revving my bike. People are all, yeah, dude, it's sick. So I jump on my bike. I'm like riding down the hallways, like go in the elevator. I told this one dude, I'm like, dude, just film everything right now. Here, hold my phone sideways and just don't press stop. Just keep it going. We get to the pool. Everyone at the pool, like the workers, they're all, what up, man? I'm like, hey, hanging out, dude. We're just doing photos and shit. I'm gonna do a wheelie or something. So I had to do a wheelie or whatever, and then this lady, what are you doing? Get that bike out of here. You're tripping. What are you doing? I'm like, no. I already talked to the people, man. It's all good. And they're like, oh, you did? I'm like, yeah, dude. I told you. Like, I talked to the main people. Like, it's all good. They told me I could do this. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, chill. She's like, all right. I'm all, hey, dude, move all those chairs out of the way, dude. I'm gonna rip into the pool. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, dude, like, it's gonna be sick. Just move the shit out of the way. And then I fire it up, dude. Like, I was gonna do like first gear, but I'm like, I want to put this thing in second and let it eat. So I just dropped the clutch like full on, dude, and like it hooked up so well, and I flew into the pool. We got the bike out, and then the people at the casino, like the cops and stuff, they're like, what are you thinking, man? That bike's going to contaminate the pool. I'm like, you know what? It's not going to contaminate the pool, dude. Everything's sealed. This is not a carbureted bike. If it's going to leak gas, it'd leak out of the tank, and it wouldn't leak. That pool's huge. I'm like, if there's any damage, here's my information. They're like, all right, we'll keep in contact. And then they had a huge pool party that night for like Labor Day weekend or something. So I'm like, you guys just let like thousands of people in your pool. It's over. Like,
it's ruined.
There was something wrong with the pool. But the pool wasn't ruined, and I didn't put anybody in danger, and everything was all good. So That was this whole story with that pool thing. But okay, back to Leonard Skinner. So they were like, the video got 15 million views on my phone, you know, like that video blew up just on my account, 15 mil. And I have a shirt that says Leonard fucking Skinner. So the guys reached out to me and they're like, hey, you got to come out to our next show, man. Meet the band, come back live stage, dude.
No
Like,
shit.
you're killing it, whatever. Like, I'm all rock on. Hell yeah, Skinner. Fucking, I can't wait, man. I'll come hang out, whatever. Putting like cheers, beers, emojis and shit. And like, so anyway, I'm like, yeah, Skinner's the shit, dude. I want to, that's why I've been listening to them more. I want to try to use some of their music in my projects and shit, you know?
Dude,
But they were stoked.
that's so. And so you haven't been out to the show yet?
No, I bought the shirt at the Ontario one. That
Yeah,
was like right
yeah.
before I did that. And then they're on tour. They haven't been back to Cali yet. They're like on the East Coast. I think they're like out of country and shit. But he's like, a whole lot of rockin' left, man. Like, he's like, we're gonna be back. I'm like, all right, hell yeah, sick.
That's seriously
But
so
I
dope.
I went live at their show. I went live for Freebird, and like all the kids watching my live story are like, who are these old guys? Who is this? I'm like, dude, you don't know who fucking Leonard Skinner is, man? I don't know, dude. It's a trip.
They should literally teach that shit in school.
Yeah, dude, for sure. It's in all the movies, you know? It's like all of Adam Sandler, Forrest Gump, and all that shit.
Dude, that's so good. That'd be fucking rad getting to actually go to the show and meet those guys. I bet they're still just the fucking
Yeah.
biggest legends too.
They follow me, too.
That's
I'm
so
like tripping
sick.
on it, dude. It's so sick.
Oh,
But yeah,
now-
I can't wait. Whenever they come back, I'm going. They only follow 211 people.
and Colby fucking
one of them.
Raha is one of them. You should do a
It's
merch shirt
sick.
that says Colby fucking Raha.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, something like that. I was like, damn, dude, that shirt's my favorite shirt too. And I left it in my friend's van, Jordan Brush from Washington, when he helped me get my bike out of there. And then he mailed it back to me. I don't even know where it is. I gotta find it, man. But that shirt's sold out. So many people hit me up. Where can I get that shirt? And you go online, it's sold out. I'm like, I went to the fucking show, man. I bought it there. My friend picked it out for me. I didn't even buy it.
Dude, that's the biggest come up of all time. You like hit up your friend in a merch line and be like, just grab me something. And then it leads to that.
Grab me any shirt. I'm all, you know what I like, man. Fucking just get me a Skinner shirt. I figured he'd get me something that said Leonard Skinner with like American flag, you know? And he comes back with a shirt and just says Leonard, and then it's the F word with like all the syllables, and then Skinner. And then I put it on that day and I wheelied into that pool. It went viral. And then Skinner hits me up, follows me. They're like, man, you got to come out to our show, meet the band. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I just was at your show.
Dude, that's
So
like
sick.
that's like the internet winning right there.
Yeah, I posted it on my feed. I'm like, this is too good, man. Leonard Skinner following me. Like, I felt like that when Carmichael followed me.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, all throughout the big names. Like, I was like, dude, screenshot, send to my boys. Cooper Webb followed me, and back when he was on the Yamaha and he was winning everything those couple years. My friend was like the biggest Cooper Webb fan, and he named his dog Cooper and stuff. I screenshot it, sent it to him. I'm like, what's up, man? Cooper Webb's following me, dude. Like, you know what I mean? But the Skinner one is just, that's like my biggest Instagram highlight right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's like some legit shit. How has it been sketchy with like the police when you're doing like the stuff in the street, or is it pretty much like you're down to like kind of push the limits there as long as you're like not damaging shit and not hurting anyone?
Yeah, I try to keep it to where I'm not damaging anything or hurting anybody. So that way it's like, who's going to really press charges at that point? But I haven't really been stopped or jammed up by a cop yet. And luckily for us motocrossers, cops are like motocrossers too most of the time. Or, you know,
Yeah.
they're like pretty much fit the demographic of like they watch moto. A lot of them have like known who I was and stuff when I get pulled over. But yeah, luckily I haven't been caught up too much, and I'm hoping I don't, because like when I jumped the train jump on my vlog, that was the one time that I was on a construction site, and the security guard, he was hanging out and stuff, and he was like, he knew who I was, but he told me don't do it. But then he would like go get gas, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go. I don't want to burn him out, but he made sure we weren't doing anything illegal or whatever. We carving out this train jump, and then it ended up the big boss of the construction site. He found out and he buried it. He like took a tractor and just screwed it up, and it was right before I was gonna hit it too. He pulled up to go do it, and it was like, damn, dude. So that's why I built a ramp and jumped this other spot pretty close to there. But then I posted the YouTube video. It blew up. Like, it was getting so many views. It probably would have been at 1 million in like a week or something, like some of the other ones. But the security guard's like, hey, man, you got to take that down. They're going to press charges, trespassing. Like, you're just shredding around their construction site. And that's a big corporation and stuff. They're going to totally press charges. I'm like, oh, dude, like, all right, fine, I'll take the video down. So I took the video down. I took that part out and put it back up. But now it doesn't even have close as many views or whatever. But that was the only thing so far that I've been hit up about, you know. So just like I rode that abandoned water park, and no one really cares, I don't think, there because it's abandoned. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of risky. Like, I was jumping that highway the other day, and all the cars passing by, I'm like, if one cop sees me jumping a highway, like, all the money and the traction and like the momentum I got on my channel, I'm probably gonna have to pay for my bike to get out of impound, and it's just like, it could be a total wall hit and like fail. So I'm trying not to get caught, and I try to get in and get out. I wish it was legal. It'd be so much more fun to just hang out and jump highways with your boys. But yeah, you got to kind of get in, unload the ramp, jump it, and bail.
Do you think that, oh, dude, so that train jump was so gnarly. You went like 120 to flat, bro. Like, that was
136.
Yeah, I was like,
I could be a couple feet off, but I measured it was 136 to where my tire landed from the lip. You know what I mean? I'm using a tape measure, but yeah, I was stressing on that one because I built the ramp and I kind of tested it where I jumped to flat, but I was like fourth gear cruising, and I landed pretty hard on this like street or whatever I was practicing on. And then I'm like, hey, I went 100 foot, or I think I went 80 foot. And I thought the train gap was 80 foot minimum, but it was 100 feet minimum. So like just the canyon was 100, and the run-in was super janky, swerving out of bushes. And then I had to go 100 plus, but I hadn't really practiced for that. I just went 80. So I was like, all right, I kind of know how fast to go. And then 2-strokes, man, they're so weird compared to 4-strokes. Like, I grew up riding a 2-stroke and 80s and stuff, but then a 450 has so much power. You could be half throttle going, you know, fourth gear, and then hammer the gas, and off the lip you can get so much power. But a 2-stroke, you come in so fast, there's nothing on the top, so like you're it's all momentum, and you're coasting off the lip basically on a 2-stroke. So I came in so hot. I was fifth gear. I didn't want a case, was my thing, but there was a bush I had to land and swerve. But dude, I landed so hard. It made for a good clip, but dude, I like jacked up my arm so bad. I landed, it popped out, and like I had to hold onto the grip and swerve the bush with a popped out shoulder, and I think I might have tore some stuff. It took a couple weeks to feel better, but that was some serious crusty demons shit right there.
Yeah, dude, that was like a legit old school. Like, there was just like, there's not much in that, but just pure fucking sending it.
Yeah, that was for like the channel, man. I'm like, I know this is going to be sick. And then it ended up blowing up, and I had to take it down anyways. So it was stupid. But the merch was really good. I printed the shirt out, solid photo.
That's right.
His Instagram is Matt Collins. He took a photo of it. We picked this kind of his angle. He made it into a stitched thing, and I sold shirts, and it went off, dude. We sold like hundreds of those shirts throughout that like first few days that the vlog was up. So that was worth it right there for the whole thing, and just to have that content was cool. And Jay came out and got a really cool angle for the movie too. So just a different perspective with his really good camera, not such a home video look.
Yeah,
it was few birds with one stone for that.
Yeah, that's sick. Do you think that the whole e-bike thing is going to help your cause with it, and just not being like a motor and noise and the whole deal? Yeah, you think that's like the future of like that, your kind of riding?
Yeah, I think it is, because I just think that, like, I'll show up to a skate park and I'll push my bike in on neutral, just like I'll just push it in, or I'll kill it and push it in when it's not running, and I try to like acknowledge the moms that are there with their 4 year olds or their five, younger kids on scooters. And I'll kind of let them know, hey, I'm going to ride around for a second if you want to just watch your kid. Because if you go into a skate park with your bike running, like they're just like, what is this maniac doing? That's a highway, or that's a motorcycle. What is he riding around my kid? The bike could take my kid's head off, like if he whiskeys the bike. So, yeah, I think with an electric bike, noise is a lot. Like, you show up to a skate park. I mean, if you're at a motocross track or you're in the hills, like, dude, ride a motor. But if you're trying to do some of that street stuff that's illegal, yeah, I would say, like, showing up to a skate park or doing something in downtown LA, there's just no motor. So it's like, it looks like a mountain bike with dirt bike plastics. I think you can get away with a lot more. I've never really ridden one. I've seen a lot of Josh Hill stuff and Scranny stuff. But I wouldn't mind trying one out. I'm hoping Husqvarna makes electric bikes. I think they're a few years out on that, though. They're making the kids ones now. I think they're going to start doing 60s and 80s and work their way up, they were telling me. But for now, I'm just starting up the old two-stroke, the loudest bike they got, and just like hucking stuff in the streets on that. I just try to tell everybody before I do it, like, hey, I'm going to jump over this or jump down that, and then I think with like the Rockstar Energy helmet and the get up, maybe I'm just guessing, but it seems like a lot of people would rather watch than complain.
Yeah.
Like the last few stunts, the whole neighborhood showed up to watch the train jump. Like one person saw me, came over, met me. They're going to jump the train, man. Oh, dude, that's so cool. And next thing you know, there's like 30 neighbors there all drinking, waiting for a train. We waited for like 5 hours. And same with like highway stuff. Like I jumped over that one highway the other day. Not the one where I did it in a orange construction tee or whatever, but the one where I just gapped the canyon. And like so many people that saw the ramp, they just pull over with their car and they're just like waiting. They're like, hey man, you gonna jump it? Like people are like, you gonna call the cops? Like that's what I'm thinking. Because they pull over and they look at me and I'm like, this guy's pissed. And he's like, you gonna jump it, man? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, that'd be sweet. I'm like, okay, you want to watch? Got it. Because I'm like, I don't think, just like, I'm not gonna jump it, man. They're like they want to see it. I thought they were pissed, And then once they do it, people are honking. They're all stoked. It's almost like a stunt, People are like stoked. I thought people would be more mad, but every time I do a stunt now or whatever, it's like people are more stoked to watch it than people caring, like, or they want to call the cops. It seems like. So it's been cool.
Yeah, because I think that's what Hill pretty much said about the Altas, is that people just seem like more interested than pissed off. I think it's just the noise that it's just like, I guess, frightens people away in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of know how to like keep the bike like even on a 4-stroke or whatever, or a 2-stroke. I just keep the RPMs really low when I'm doing stuff. People are like, oh, your bike doesn't sound that great, like on my 2-stroke. It's like, no, dude, I'm just not revving the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a city with houses and cars and dogs and people, Like, I'm keeping it low RPM. I'm hitting something a little higher gear, especially 4-strokes. Like, I'll keep it in 3rd gear and just putt around. And then when I need to do it, I'll hit it. But I'm not just like, run. All right, I'm going to hit this. Run. It's like, dude, what is going on? It sounds like a lawnmower, when I'm doing it. It's like so quiet. I try to make it not noticeable, or not like, you rev your 450 in a city and it's like, what is that? Like, your dog's barking or whatever. There's people like, what is going on? But they're so loud. So I try to keep it mellow,
Yeah, no, that's so sick. It's pretty cool, like watching and seeing on the film, just like the level of riding that you kind of bring into the street, but especially like the rivers. Like you guys have like those riverbeds, and we don't have that in Australia, like those big concrete kind of riverbeds. And like there's some crazy shit that you can do in those things too.
Yeah. Yeah, I never I know like Trigger Gum and RIP Trigger Gum, but like Nathan Fletcher, Christian Fletcher, and those guys like Link Ogle and stuff, back in the day, they used to go and do all kinds of shit like that. They wouldn't film it or whatever. They'd go mob around just like no helmet or whatever. They'd put a helmet on, just go rip. But I haven't really seen too much of that stuff going on. And then I was really trying to win Real Moto, and I looked all over and found a couple cool ones, and it seems like it's like becoming like a spot now. I've never been busted riding a drain. I don't think people care. I see cars down there doing burnouts sometimes, and people doing photo shoots. I don't think it's like a high profile area for cops to go to or whatever, but I was bringing in ramps and setting up. I did like a whole line, jumped over the water, over a tabletop, over the water, hit a berm, like jumped over, built like a whole line of jumps in there. And we were there for like an hour doing that stuff, and nobody. And then same thing, people stopped to watch. Like people were like riding their road bikes and old grandpas on walks, and they're just stopping and watching, and kids are freaking out, and people are yelling out their windows watching. So as long as you're not like being an asshole and like disrespectful and breaking stuff, and if you're not being too loud, I think people will actually want to watch it and like think it's cool.
Yeah. No, and it just gives like a totally different perspective, and almost makes it feel like because you kind of always get a feeling that they've done everything. There's like everything, there's no more room to grow, but there actually seems like there's a whole lot of shit out there, and then I think definitely once you add in like the electric bikes, but even like I was saying before, the way that you can kind of like flow through a skate park, it's like there's still does seem like there's a lot of room to go.
No, I think there's a ton of stuff left to do, and I think there always will be new stuff to do, and that's like what I came across with the Real Moto thing. It's like you hear about people building huge dirt jumps and spending money to build all these dirt features, and I'm like, well, I seen like a pretty cool feature over there. I could jump off that bridge, and yeah, it's illegal and stuff, but it's happening more and more now where I think like, I don't know, maybe it isn't as illegal as we think, or something, because I start seeing more and more people doing stuff like that. But I was able to win 2 real motos, and I think because I was doing that kind of stuff, like wall riding buildings and jumping into drains or gapping over canals and stuff, and I think that's what kind of gave me the creative edge on the others. And I made sure to put in there like natural terrain backflips and big 200-foot turn-ups and the big stuff too, so I had that element. But yeah, I think that there's always going to be new stuff. I've got a whole list full of new stuff to go do for the next, few months for my channel, and just, whatever it is. So yeah, I've got plenty spots, and then I can go back and try tricks on them. And I think once electric bikes start becoming a thing, I think that you'll be able to get away with more of it, and then you could be like rolled to a skate park on an electric bike. And maybe as long as you're not a dick, or like, you're not putting people's kids in harm's way, I think a lot of people will be okay with you riding them. And I think you definitely don't need to be hitting copings and like chunking out concrete and breaking up the park, because that's just disrespect to skaters. They don't want to see that at all. So just try to keep it clean and not damage the park. And I think there's no reason why it couldn't become like a big thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. So with the whole Husky thing, like, how did it come to be that you became a factory rider for Husky for Freeriding?
Yeah, so my manager at the time, he had a connection over there, and he kind of threw it out there, and I think like a couple bike brands were interested at the time, and we went and had a meeting with Husqvarna. And what it was is they told me in freestyle over the years, it didn't really relate to sales, because if you watch Josh Sheehan do a triple backflip, they're not saying, wow, that Honda did a triple backflip. They're saying, wow, Josh Sheehan's amazing. He did a triple backflip. They didn't really care what bike it was on. So like freestyle, and then, the crashes and the crusties and all the chaos and stuff in the videos, I just don't think it related to sales. Where the quarter pipe thing, I was telling them, hey, like, whether you guys give me a deal or not, I'm interested in buying a KTM or Husqvarna, same thing, because the bike's lighter and it comes with a billet head crank or whatever in the motor, and you're able to bore it out and not do too much actual work to it. I think just polishing and porting, actually, you don't have to bore it, to where you can get enough horsepower to have like I built a 490 motor for World Games, and on the dyno it didn't really read as much as like what I could have gotten out of a KTM Husky with port polish and then a cam or ignition or whatever. So the work I was able to do to one of those bikes, and the weight thing being like 10 pounds lighter starting out without even doing modifications, I was interested in that. And since I told them my idea with that bike, they were like, wow, that's we're interested in it. Like, I think you're getting a lot of views on all your platforms, and your free riding isn't just backflips and stuff. It's actually like hitting rutted dirt jumps, and you're doing quarter pipe high air, which does kind of relate to power, and so they were like, let's try it out. And the relationship's been great with those guys. Hines over there has been awesome. Tammy Wiegand was working there. He's at KTM now, and then my mechanic Andrew Bauer, and those guys have just been awesome. Like, very supportive of everything I'm doing, and they love whatever I'm doing on my channel with like all the stunts. And then quarter pipe, they stepped up. They gave me all the factory parts, tie everything. Like, I didn't even know they had all the parts they had for
That's
those bikes,
so
man. I
sick.
was on a full, like, the lightest bike probably. I mean, there's no way. All the stuff I had that Andrew brought to the table that they approved for me, my bike was insane. It's on the showroom floor at Husky right now, up on the pedestal in their lobby. It's sick. It's got Osborne's championship bike, Behringer's off-road bike, and I think a couple other bikes, and then mine right there, and it's all gray with gold, and it's so sick. But the relationship's been really cool. And I think I was able to pull off kind of what I had gone in there to do, which was build a bike for quarter and go win medals. That was my third gold in quarter pipe, and I got a couple in real moto too. So yeah, I guess it's working out. Maybe it's relating to sales, and I hear people say they bought Huskies because of me and stuff. So I don't know how many people are doing that, but I'm happy with the bike. I like the way it's built. It's easy to work on, and it's light, and it works for what I'm doing. So, yeah, it's been
Yeah,
really cool
man.
over there.
Dude, you're 100% selling Huskies. Like 100%. There's so many people that are, especially in like the YouTube game too, like, I mean, I think I got like 40 plus messages last year of people saying they bought a 350. Cause like, that's what I always talk about. I'd like, if you don't race for a living, then you really just should be riding a 350. Like, it's if you're a weekend warrior like me, that's the most fun bike. And it was like over 40 people messaged me,
Yep.
so like I think that there's something, especially when it's like you're in like the YouTube like internet world, and you're replying to DMs, and you're actually like connecting to people, like that is when you do convert sales. So man, for sure. How many kids would have asked their dad to buy like a Husky because of like following your channel heavy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, but it must be working because they're stepping up and just giving me more and more support, and doing better and better. And I've noticed, like, not to sound like I'm not trying to like be that guy to sell bikes, but I've ridden Japanese bikes, Cowies, and Hondas and Suzukis my whole life. And then I rode Cowies the last like 6 years, but it seems like the quality of a Husqvarna lasts longer. I remember getting a free bike. It was a factory edition, and I took it straight to the dunes, and I hammered on that thing, dude. I put like 70 hours on it so quick, just holding it wide open at Dana Creech's in Area 52 up north, and I'm like, dude, I did like one or two oil changes, but it didn't feel clapped out or stretched or like, like a Cowie. I felt like after you ride it for like 80 hours, you're like, dude, this thing handles. It's just something that like it stretches or it, I don't know. It starts vibrating and bolts start stripping and falling out. Anyways, I'm happy with the bike, so I hope they continue to support me and I can keep riding those bikes.
And I feel like quarter is probably a pretty gnarly discipline for like needing a really solid bike. Like you said, it's only 8 seconds, but it's pretty critical 8 seconds.
Yeah, it's just like a burst of focus, and that's what I was relating to the racers. I only have to do 8 seconds worth, but over and over. But those guys are gnarly for 30 minutes plus too. But it is very, very gnarly. Like, if you land flat or come up short, or like the last run that I did at Slayground when I went 49 feet and I went for all the marbles. I was like down. I was 3 feet beneath axle, and I was like, "Okay, here's the last run." And I went in so fast, and I held it wide, and I hit the lip so hard, and I thought I was crashing on the way up because my foot, like I felt like I was looping out. I got like that buckle feel off the lip.
Yeah.
And I did that before at Minneapolis, and I grenaded. That clip still circles around. Like, But I crashed so hard on that one. But this one, I felt the same way in the air, but I was able to like do a BMX, kind of turn my bars Euro and like lean the bike back, and I came in a little crooked and stomped it. But I mean, we were testing suspension and different gearings, different tire pressures. It all like has something to do with how well the bike tracks off the takeoff, and luckily we did a lot of that because before I used to try to go that high and I'd wadded. So yeah, we got it pretty tuned in, and we'll see, dude. Last year I went 40 foot, and that was a record. And the other guys were like 4 feet lower than me the whole time. And then this year, I think like the first run was like 43 feet. Like, so this year everyone was going so much higher. Last year I had more in the tank. I did 40 foot and broke the record my second air of the event, and then no one even got close. So I didn't want to break spokes or blow out my bike for no reason. I kind of waited to see if anyone went higher. No one did.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I trained hard for this, and I had more left in the tank. And everyone's like, you think so? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, I know for sure I did. And then this year, you could tell Hodges was practicing a lot and getting ready. And maybe they had the height meter set up for him a few days earlier than the event, testing it, because he was going huge. Like, I think he trained for like 48 feet, so 8 feet higher than my air the year before. And I was training too, like getting ready, and I did a lot of work for that. And then when I showed up, he went 45, 46, 7, then 8. His last run was 48, and I was stuck at like 45. And so they were kind of like, it looked like they were kind of celebrating a little early. And then last run, I'm like, all right, I got it. Here we go, dude. I'm going to send it as high as I can. And I actually gave it like more, and I hit the thing so hard, and I'm just stoked I pulled it. You can tell I was upside down with my foot off. It looks steezy. It looks like I meant to do it.
Yeah.
And I you know what I mean? It looks sick. Like I was upside down with a dog pisser, like holding the leg off with the bars. It looked sweet. I stomped it, and then 49. So yeah, that was gnarly. That was like a big one. And that's 2 years in a row I won in not his hometown, but his home. So it was sick, dude.
Dude, I mean, when they said that X Games was going to be at Slayground for like, I was like, oh, I get it. It's COVID. There's no, like, you probably can't be at a stadium. Like, but then to go there again, I was like, these guys are going to be fucking pissed. Like, at what point is that, like, what? How did we have the competition? I get it, but then I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'd want to, like, be going up against that.
Nah, I wasn't really too stoked on it. But it's kind of always been like that. Like, the guy that builds their compound and sets their ramps up is the guy that builds X Games. So he's building their setup exactly the same, you know? And I've been practicing back then at Militia on like the most roach landing, like dirt landing. No, like I would go not even as high as I could and come down so hard and just blow out my back, like just like compress, like feel like I compressed my back. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna just go to X Games and give it all I got, you know? And that was back then. And then I ended up framing up my own landing, 32 foot tall wooden landing that I was able to practice on a bunch and get a lot of airs on and stuff. And it would break and stuff, and I'd repair it and fix it, but it got me through 2 or 3 years. COVID was the year I built it, so that didn't really count. But to have it at their yard, I was like, damn, dude, I just don't feel like dealing with like that. You know, like our whole rivalry's been like a super gnarly, like pain in the ass to deal with, because I'm always the like underdog, and I don't have like the team that builds the setup, and I'm always trying to come in and beat them, and it seems like I'm just getting wrenches thrown in my way the whole way in. And then when I heard it was at his house, I was like, damn it. And then I was like, oh shit, I could win at his house. Like, all right, let's do it. So I just started grinding and practicing my ass off, and that was like the biggest goal. And I pulled it off, and it was so sick the first year. And then I found out, oh, they're doing it again. And I'm like, dude, again, but I'm like, all right, I could beat him at his own house again, and I'm like, shit, like, what if people wanted to come ride in my yard on my ramp, like, that's where I train, like, but, and then he took off doing this, like, couple, or, like, freestyle or whatever to focus on quarter, and I know he wanted to win, and, like I said, he probably had his height meter set up, and man, we just had all kinds of. Axel was really cool, actually, man. Like, we got along. We have like a lot of respect for each other, rider to rider, But his team, and I don't really. Now I've got Husqvarna and stuff, and that's my team. But our teams were button heads back in the days, and we kind of got thrown in the middle of it and stuff. And
Yeah.
But I mean, in the beginning, it was kind of like I didn't feel a whole lot of respect coming from his whole camp and stuff, and him, and I took that as like a dude, F you, man. Like, I'm busting my ass. You don't even know what I've gone through to get to this position, And I kind of know what you've gone through, dude. You're fucking set up so sick, dude. Like, fuck, dude. Your mom makes you breakfast and shit, and I'm fucking sleeping in my van. Like, this is fucking complete opposites here. But to not get the respect right away, it just seemed like and I guess that's whatever, dude. Anyway, all that bullshit in the history, whatever, in the past. Nowadays, it's like I have respect for him. I know what it takes to go that big on a quarter pipe. I know how much work it takes to go that big, and the pressure and just how gnarly it is to go that big. Like, of course I respect it because I know what it's like to go that big, So, and
even
he does
if your mum
really
is
cool
making
stuff
you
on his
breakfast,
bike.
and even if you do have all that shit
now
in your
all that
backyard,
shit,
like,
now all that shit doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like, it's still gnarly. Like, to sack
nowadays
up and go that.
Yeah, so, and I see the stuff he does, and I'm like, you know what? Like, the past is the past. But nowadays, I know it. Like, you're busting your ass out here too, And I think he sees it the same way, and that stuff was like funny or whatever back then, and whatever. I was just with that crew of people back then coming into the game. Like, that was my entry in, and I'm still cool with everybody and all that, but yeah, like. Anyways, so going to his spot this year, he'd been training, I'd been training. I know he wanted to beat me. Why not? Like, of course he wants to beat me, And I just put in that much more work too, and it was close, dude. But yeah, the last run I went 49 feet and stomped it, and yeah, that was a big. That was like probably the coolest one I've ever like won. That one felt the best because it wasn't like the first year, which was also cool, but the second year. And now, hopefully, man, I heard X Games is doing something different. I heard they might be coming back to LA. I hope they are, so we'll see.
Yeah, man, I think, like, the way that you handled it and the way that it all, like, worked out when it comes to, like, your deal, I think you went about it perfectly, because you can almost be a bitch in the sense that if you, like, because in reality, you had everything against you. You don't have the crazy setup. You're doing it all on your own. The organizers aren't building the same shit at your house as at the event. Monsters, obvious. Like, there's so much monster pool within the industry. Like, so you are right. Like, everything was against you. But the bitch move is to, like, complain and to, like, make all that shit so public and to, like, just be a bitch about it. But, like, the gangster move is to just shut your mouth and then just go and do it, and then you get the win. So, like, as much as it would have sucked in the moment to just deal with, like, every wrench being thrown at you, like you said, just that's the shit that makes the victory so sweet, and, like, and being, like, I first met Axel with Hill in, like, 2015 in Geneva. He was like 17 or something like that, and he went to Geneva Supercross as Hill's mechanic, and he was like the nicest dude. And I feel like that kid that I met then is like the same dude now. Like, he's still the nicest guy. And I feel like with Axel, cool. Like, it was a lot of like you said, the team. There's like people around him that I think made shit like not cool, not just for you, but for like a bunch of people. And I always you gotta. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, I mean, the last one we just went to his house, I have a lot of respect for him because he lands like a little bit lower on the landing every year, and I always land a little higher with a lot of the other riders where we case. I think it's just suspension setup or something about it. But this year I wanted to move the ramp half a degree, and and he was cool with it, and his pops wasn't and stuff, whatever. But he was like, dude, all fair. Like, you want to move the ramp a little bit, you know? Because I wasn't moving the ramp a lot. I was moving it a little bit. It was like halfway of what I would have liked to move it. So we're meeting in the middle. And I said, dude, if you don't like the ramp, we can move it back. I just don't want to land a foot from the knuckle every time because I'm pulling on my bars to not case and I'm landing so close. I would love to land just a foot lower. And if that means you're landing a foot lower, and, you know, if you don't like it, we can move the ramp back. And he's like, dude, all good, man. I ain't tripping. Like, that's cool, you know? And I was like, all right, appreciate it. Like, sweet, you know? He's like, yeah, all good. And then we moved the ramp and we had an awesome event, dude. We had the best time. Like, we were shredding. Like, he was going huge. I was going huge. It was actually a lot of fun. And he was a good sport about it at the end, you know, and high fives and handshakes and stuff. And he was really cool about it. His team looks super butthurt for sure, but he is his own person. He was cool, and I was like, dude, we should hang out, ride, you know, free ride and session and stuff. He's like, dude, anytime, man, hit me up, you know. And I was like, dude, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, I think he's actually like, you know, whatever, like he's the past is the past and stuff with because I came in with militia, you know, and they like to push buttons, and they, you know, there's that whole thing. But nowadays, I'm like, yeah, that was a good contest. I know what he does to go as high as he does. He puts in the work. I have respect for it, and I think that's the same way. And yeah, it was fun hanging out with him at his house for those couple of days. And you know, we'll see in the future. I'm kind of doing my own thing, and he's doing his own thing. But who knows? Maybe we'll ride together in the future, and I'm sure we'll compete some more in the future too. So can't wait to go back to battle on those.
Well, I think that's probably. I mean, for me, step up quarter's probably the marquee event of X Games now, and I think that it's because of the rivalry that you guys have, and I think that in sport, the eras that we remember or the things that we like care to watch are because of like the crazy rivalries, and it's like I think that if you and Axel were just like full homies the whole time, then the sport
giving each other hugs and shit the whole time,
it's just like you just don't care in the same way. And it's like I think that as much as it probably sucked to go through, and it probably sucks for Axel to feel the pressure of like having to beat you at his own house now, then it's like that's the shit that really drives the sport. Like I don't really watch that much freestyle ever. Like I'm not super into it, but I'm so into watching you two do your thing. And then you add Berriman in the mix, and you know we got Corey Creed. Like there's some cool storylines and dynamics that make me really want to watch it. And now when you're talking about almost 50 feet in the air, it's just like that's like a super legit event. So I think that as uncomfortable as it was for everyone involved, it really elevated you guys to like a whole new level within the industry.
Yeah. And like he's probably bummed, you know, but I just remember how bummed I was, you know, when he beat me back in 2018 or 19. He beat me by a foot in Minneapolis, and I was just like, dude, I do not want to lose like that again, you know. And then I went to World Games right after that, and that's when I broke the record there and beat him. Beat him straight up. And then they said there was some wind and stuff, so it kind of was like, oh, okay, well, maybe it wasn't, like, I still beat him straight up. But then and then I was like trying different suspensions. I didn't have a good place to practice, and I kind of like went out to that was when I crashed in Minneapolis when Axel hurt his foot doing the Evo Live distance jump. He didn't ride. That was when Creed won. Creed won everything that year. He won Minneapolis, and then he won Norway and World Games. And I had just chopped off the top of my ring finger in real moto. I crashed. I did a backflip in Bakersfield, landed, hit it, washed the front end out in a rain rut. It kind of wasn't like, I didn't know the rain rut was there. I did a perfect flip, came in perfect, hit a rain rut, washed it out. And I hit like a piece of metal in the landing, like a washer machine was buried or something, and it chopped my finger off. So I kind of was like, didn't do a whole lot of riding, and I went into Minneapolis to try to beat everybody. Axel wasn't competing. Creed won, and my last air was that one where I came in way crooked and slammed. And if I guess I would have landed that, I would have won. But I went to Norway. My suspension setup was all wrong. That was back when I was on a Cowie. I tried different stuff, and like, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't even hit the ramp, so I didn't ride. And then there was kind of like some flack coming from like, you know, Dirt Shark mostly was the one talking the shit. He was like, "What up, you pussy, you fucking clown? You too scared to ride?" I'm like, I don't even see you fucking riding, dude. You know, Axel wasn't talking shit, but you were.
Yeah.
I'm like, you go hit a fucking quarter pipe. You know what I mean? Don't fucking call me a pussy or a clown, motherfucker. You know, sorry my language, but it gets me heated. So I didn't ride Norway. Then COVID happened. So it's like, as far as they knew, it was like, oh, this dude's done. He crashed out at Minneapolis, didn't compete in Norway, and got beat at this and that, you know? So and then
His run's
this
over.
long break with COVID. And then I was like, dude, I came in so ready for sleigh ground. I won the first year. I heard some excuses throughout the year. He didn't have a mod bike, I heard in a Racer X interview. I heard his suspension wasn't set up right or something and stuff. And I'm like, dude, okay, you know what I mean? You're at your house, but all right, let's do it. So here we go next year. Show up. He looked ready. I'm sure he had a mod bike. You know what I mean? And then I won again. So now it's like, okay, what's, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, Axel was cool about it, dude. You know, he was cool about it. He was like, dude, all good. You killed it. You rode great. Fucking, you know, we're going to compete again. All good. Dirt Shark was so bummed, dude. And I'm like, yup, good. You know what I mean? I don't even know what you like. Yeah, you love your little brother. I'm sure you care for him, but like, get out of it, bro. Like, me and Axel would probably have the best time free riding and shit, but it's like always something to do with that dude or whatever. Anyway, I don't know. I just know Dirt Shark's been a dick, so.
Well, fair. And then Imagination was pretty cool, like the first year that you guys did that. Because that's the thing, like, you guys are just on such a level, you know? And like I said, that rivalry, it's just fucking dope. Like, you guys are on this crazy level. And it's like, when you aired, I don't know whether, excuse my memory, but I think, was it you that aired over the quarter first, or was it Axel?
It was me.
So like,
yeah. So,
but like, I'll just get this thought out. Like the fact that like,
go ahead.
you do that first, and then like that he can see it and then go and do it. Like, respect to that. You know what it's so like, just to have a guy.
Yeah,
where
that's
it's like,
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so that's what, like, I go put in the work, and then I'll go and show up to an event, and I'll go send something that I'm like, dude, this is gonna be sick, you know? And then like I had that idea, I saved it for my last run last year, and I had the dude Bubba, he's like the water truck driver, he's the man. It's this like huge ass dude. Hey Bubba, dude, go grab that Red Bull logo off the landing. It's this huge 10-foot like wooden thing. He's like, want me to grab it off the landing? I'm like, yeah, go grab it and drag it down off the landing. I'm gonna land there. He's like, what? All right, yeah. He's like, dude, oh man, I can't wait to see that. He's all stoked. So right before my run, he cleans it off the landing. I did my whole run. I think it was the flip first, the biggest flip there on this gnarly jump, super narrow landing, and like if you went too far short, it would have sucked. Pulled that, and then I think I forget if I did that before or after, but I did the quarter pipe. Those are the last two things I did. I was sweating them the whole run. It was a 5-minute run that back of my mind, I'm like, dude, I got to go fucking jump that gnarly quarter pipe. So anyway, as I go into it, and I thought it was going to be easier than it was, but I gave it a handful of gas. I carved up the thing. I think I could have had more air in my tires because it felt like they just like squished out, like they went flat or something. You know, and it kicked me into this super gnarly backwards whip. I thought I was crashing, so I was like this close to just jumping over the bars and landing on my feet. But it kept going. I'm like, hey, I'm going to kind of land it. So I just landed it. I was stoked. I got a terrible score for my run. I don't know why. But I did all the coolest stuff. Some of the judges were like, dude, I said I had you in first for sure, dude. Your run was insane. And then other judges just like whatever happened, they just might have favored other riders or something. But either way, I was stoked on my run, and then they gave us like 3 minutes to warm up, and then I seen him practicing it, but he practiced it first and then he did his run. But either way, that was super gnarly to hit, and I'm like, props for going for it. And that's why I have respect for him, because he steps up and he goes for stuff that other riders wouldn't do. And I know that's gnarly, you know? So, like, as much as I'm like, oh, you know, I have my opinions about him, he still stepped up and did it. And I knew how big that was. And it took a lot of bike skill for me to pull it. And he actually did it. He cased a little bit on the one where he did the knack, but he did a knack and he landed it and rode away. So I'm like, yeah, that's solid, you know, like all bullshit aside, the dude's got skill, he has balls, he sent it and he stomped it, you know, like that's impressive because he could have easily been like, I'm not doing it, you know, and then I probably would have won or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, mission, man, imagination, that stuff's wild. It's cool hanging out with everybody all week out there and doing some crazy gaps. I can't believe how many gnarly jumps there is, you know. You're used to hitting like 1 or 2 jumps where you're like, oh, if I case this, I could break my wrist and break my back, or if I land flat, I could blow out my wheel and break my wrist or leg. But you do that like
every jump for 5
times. 15 for sure. And then like 20 other jumps, you're like, this is still not going to be fun if I don't make it. You know, I could break my leg on that or this or that. So stressful out there. And Bierman hits everything first, dude. I don't know, like he doesn't have to either. He doesn't have to step up and hit everything first, and he still is like, all right, like everyone's rattling, and I could tell he's gonna hit it, so I'm like, I'm just gonna hang back and watch. And it's like that on every jump. He's like, I'm gonna hit the first, I'm gonna hit it. He should just get an award for that, you know, like in free riding, like it's not a contest, that's what they're saying this year and stuff, and they have to make it a contest or whatever for the show, but he should get an award for hitting the biggest, gnarliest jumps first. I hit the one gnarly one that was like, I don't know how big, 200 foot or something. I hit that one first last year, and that was pretty gnarly, but I compared it to this jump I hit at Manny's a lot. I kind of had confidence because it was the same lip, compared it to that and hit it first. But other than that, Bierman hit all the gnarly steep stuff with the super knuckled backsided landings first. And that's what he should get, a trophy that says like, gnarly is sending everything first guinea pig or something like that, you know, like every jump first guy, because that's a big, that's gnarly,
dude. That 160 that he sent this year, like when I saw that clip, I was just like, nah, bro.
Yeah,
like nah, man, at some point
the first angle that came out too, dude. I think Fast House posted the first angle from the side on the right, and I was like, whoa, that was big, dude. Like, and like you can hit big jumps from scooting ramps back or building dirt lips closer, and it's a little safer, but to just go for something that big first try, dude, that is gnarly. And he almost wrecked, you know, so that just goes to show how gnarly that really was. And it's like, dude, that stuff out there is no joke, man.
Well, even like, so last year when he jumped the whole, like the shipping container, like they had like the shipping container step on, step off.
Oh, that was the like, first year.
Oh, the first year. And it's just like,
dude,
what the fuck are you up to, bro? Like,
I know, man. He's got like a specialty at doing that. Like when he hit that over the container, the lip was so steep and the landing was so steep. Yeah, like really, like not a lot of room for error, you know? Very easily could come up short or land flat. Like you could really land flat because the landing's like small anyway. So I just see him hitting this stuff. I'm like, damn, dude. That's his specialty, I think, you know? Like, we're doing flips and we're doing these transfers and stuff, and he's looking for the biggest stuff. And then for Axel to go back him up on that jump, you know, is cool. And it's still gnarly, but for him to go and test it first, you know? The question is like, if Bierman didn't hit that big one this year, would Axel have hit it first, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll never know, but
we don't need to know.
Bierman's gnarly.
Yeah. I mean,
Bierman's gnarly.
He's like he's the Travis Rice of moto for sure. You know, like he's that. I think he's just that one dude that is just like. There might be guys like you said, you know, like you're probably doing bigger. Well, you're definitely doing bigger flips, and you've got like there's other stuff you're doing that he's not doing. But when it comes to like that's as raw as it gets. Like here's a pile of dirt, here's another pile of dirt. No one knows how far to go and what gear to hit it in, and like he's the dude that's gonna do it. And just so many times he greases it, and like that 160, like even hearing the way that it sounded like he's on the clutch, like right before the up ramp, like just that level of like
rev
bike
limiter.
skill is like fucking
And,
crazy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to keep it where
It
he
is,
needs
man,
to keep
it
it,
is.
like, god damn, it makes me scared.
Yeah. And he's got a sick style with it too, where he'll come in slow and just like hammer the gas off stuff and time it perfectly. And yeah, like Bierman was like always my favorite rider before I was even like a name or anything. Like I always watched him when we'd go to the hills for filming and stuff. He'd be out there throwing the biggest whips upside down, backwards. I'm like, this guy is like the best whipper on the planet, you know. And I always voted for him and winning stuff. And yeah, he just got a sick style. He doesn't need to flip and stuff, or you know, I'm sure he could, you know, if he could put in the work and do it, but. Yeah, he's just always got the, like, his turn-ups are vertical, backwards, hanging upside down under it and stuff. And yeah, he's just a really cool dude too. He definitely he was my favorite rider the whole time. And yeah, just I like hanging out with him, man. I'd love to go free riding with him more often. You know, no contests or nothing, just go hang out.
Well, that was literally the next thing I was about to say too. Is that like. I'd do crazy shit if you bought me a person that said I fucking hate Tyler Berman. Like, there's just no one. That doesn't exist. There's no guy. There's no beef with that dude. No one doesn't like him. Like, he's come over here a couple times. Like, we did a trip to New Zealand together. We went to Farm Jam. And it's like, that was like one of the best weeks I've ever had, man. Like, we just had so much fun. He's just such a great dude
seriously,
to be
man. Yeah, like I met him back at the Swamp Pound. That's when I met Scranny. That was when I was first getting into like the scene of free riding. And me and him were like the last ones awake at night, hanging out the whole time, man, just partying, having the best time, dude. All laughs, like just the best, dude. And then when we went to Norway too, it was like both. So his birthday is like a couple days before or after mine. I think it's before mine. Anyways, my birthday was on August 30th, and I took off on the 29th and landed on the 31st, so I skipped a day. But when I got there, it was like his birthday too. We both went out. It was just me and him. We took an Uber. We went downtown. It was just me and him raging all night, dude. And like, it's just the best times, man. He's just like the most classic dude, like even off the bike, you know?
Yeah, and I think like, I mean, me and him, we did a drive. It's actually on Verbmoto's YouTube. We did a drive across America together, eastbound and down. And he was like 18. I think I was like 21. And I mean, he's just like, he went through this period too of sort of like trying to figure out who he was in the sport. So it's like he's been at it that long. Yeah. And for years, he was like still trying to be the racer because he could have done that. And then the free ride thing came, and then he just didn't really have like the sponsors. He didn't have the backing. And it's like, you could always see that in his mind, or like he was just capable of so much more than what he was like able to achieve with like the funding and with, you know, like everything that he kind of had going on. And that's one of the things that I feel like really makes me stoked, is that he kind of like got the opportunity to show the world like what he had to offer as like a person and as a rider. And I think like the sport's better for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's when I met him. He was like excelling in the hills, like the best free rider out there of the day, you know, throwing the biggest whips and just so fun to watch. And then he went back to doing the Supercross thing for that season. And that's when he flew out of Santa Cruz, like after us raging with the downhill mountain bike dudes that whole week with like Graham, Aggie and I mean, there's like the biggest names. Brandon Semenok was there, Cam Zink, Cal Stray. We're all raging all week with these dudes. He flies out and then goes to, it was like a mud race on the East Coast, and then made the main that night. And we're like, dude, he was just here on this couch, and now he's out on the TV. And that was when I first met him, and it was the coolest dude. And then for him to go do that, and then now he's like free riding, doing all his projects he's doing. It's awesome. And for him to include everybody on his projects, and just awesome, dude. I'd love to ride more with him, you know. I wish you could just throw us all in a van or something and just take us on like a free ride road trip and just see what happens, man. I bet you'd be
I have an idea. I might say it after the podcast because I don't want to like give nothing away. I have an idea of like you, Berriman, and Axel, and it's like, it's not in America, it's not in Australia, it's in somewhere completely different. and I just feel like it will be fucking out of control. And it'd be that, like, we'll get a dope
Hell yeah.
sprinter van with a trailer full of bikes, and I feel, and like, but no one else, no entourage, no like, no plus,
We're all mic'd up.
yeah, no plus
shredding.
ones. It's just like
It'd be
the boys.
insane.
It'd be so sick. But
It'd be all time.
So I got an idea. Well, I'll share after. But before we wrap up, because we're almost done our 3 hours, the distance thing, I didn't get to see it in the movie. So let's talk a little bit about that. Share what you want to share as like the final little teaser for people to go and check out Narnia.
Yeah, basically, to make it a short story, because we'll have the full story on the other stuff and those sponsors that paid us for that. But basically, man, we wanted to go out and do a long distance jump, and we got the opportunity with sponsors to build a long distance setup on a land where the landowner gave us permission to keep the landing there for as long as we wanted with permits and everything. So we put together, Jay and I, Jay did a lot of work on that. He put together this landing out there, and we got a dirt crew to sponsor us to move all the dirt. Well, they put everything in the wrong spot, and it was important that they put it in the right spot because of the drainage. So it's like flash flood happens, they put it right on top of like a river. So not only would it destroy our landing, it would destroy the racetrack, and it just wouldn't pass permits. We had to move it. We moved it again, but we kind of ran out of time. The equipment, the budget was up. They were pulling the equipment off. The landing wasn't done yet. And I had to jump in equipment for like 4 or 5 days, push up all this dirt with a couple of the jump crew guys, and try to get the landing ready before there was this massive snowstorm coming in and the equipment was getting pulled off. So I kind of was like, either I jump it now or I wait till like spring when all the snow and ice melts. It was already beneath zero, and we just had a huge 7-day snowstorm coming in. And I kind of had the option to go for it or wait till after, return, get all the equipment back out there, spend another 20-30 grand in equipment to bring it back out to fix it. So I just decided, let's just get the jump going. The landing's decent. It's a little tall and a little steep and a little weird, but I'm like, dude, I could probably handle it. I'll either, I'm going to jump it and we'll get the movie out, because remember, everybody wanted to see the movie. It was supposed to come out. Well, next thing you know is like my first try to know how fast to go. We had no numbers, and I backside it, and super gnarly. And then coming back from that was brutal. And you'll have to see where it goes after that. We basically got a really cool crew together, and I think there's potential for some records in the near future, So definitely go check out the movie. It's got a lot of really cool free riding, a lot of big names, Bierman, and all the boys are in there. Thank you to all those guys for being a part of my movie. And unseen locations, unseen footage, and definitely unseen distance jumping. So yeah, it's a huge project. I think everybody's going to love it. I'd love to hear what they think, and it'll be out on December before Christmas is our plan, so everybody can get it for Christmas presents, and definitely check out premieres. Should be in December as well. If you're on the the West Coast, then you can make it to the premieres, meet me, hang out, watch the movie, and have some fun.
So yeah, dude, I'm stoked for you, man. It's such a gnarly project to undertake and to take so long to do it. And I'm sure there was like so many times where it just felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And it was, especially when you're having like these crazy injuries when you're midway through it. Like it's just such a gnarly deal to take on.
Yeah, we were gonna end the movie after the injury, and but I kind of didn't want to go out like that. I wanted to prove my point, and I really do like the distance jumping thing. Watching all Ryan Capes and Trigger Gum, and my dad's a massive fan of Evel Knievel. I actually have a huge Evel Knievel tattoo on my side, and I love all that stuff. I think it's awesome. I wish I got the chance to do the Evel Live thing back in Nitro, but we were able to put this movie together with sponsors and have our own setup. And after my first jump, I was kind of on the fence about doing it. It's so gnarly dangerous. You've seen what happened to Alex Harville, and who's the current world record holder, and Guinness just granted him for 425 feet the biggest overall jump of all
Whoa.
time. So, um, yeah, and
Dude, that is no
Mato's
joke.
right there too, and yeah, dude, it's incredible, and that whole thing's documented, and he has a part in the movie as well with all unseen footage for Harville. So that was cool because Jay is buddies with Harville, and they filmed a lot, and we were able to take some footage and make him a cool piece and kind of tell his story in there. And but yeah, like to have the setup and going back and getting to actually have a solid crew with numbers, man, I kind of fell in love with it. It was so much fun, and you'll kind of see how we put it together and the whole story. And I'd love to go out and try to like put together some events and festivals or whatever and jump shows and try to see how big I can go. It's kind of a goal of mine for the future.
How fast do you have to hit a ramp to go 420 feet?
I believe it was like 100 and something, like 105 or something like that miles an hour. So next time you're riding your Harley, go 105 and picture hitting a ramp.
So, can you do a conversion real quick? So, what was the top speed so we just did this, like, this massive 2 week ride up to the tip of Australia, and we're all on like 350s and shit, but they're on like 450s. They're kind of like geared up a bit. But I did like a speed run on one of the freeways when we were riding home. I'm like full air tucking, the fenders going like this, like crazy. And I think I got up to like 156 k's an hour. So,
holy shit.
fuck, dude. So say that again. So
105 miles per hour is 169 kilometers per hour.
whoa. So 105 miles an hour is 169 k's per hour. So I was doing 156 k's per hour. My fucking front fender was shaking. Like I was like fully tucked in. Holy fuck, bro. That is no joke, dude. Just to stay straight and hit the ramp straight at that speed is gnarly.
Yeah, it's insane, man, for real. And I don't know if I'll be able to break a record. I don't even know if, like, I just want to keep going bigger and see how I feel. It's like the quarter pipe. It's like 20 feet felt gnarly the first time I went 20 feet, but I got so used to it that 30 was the next step, and 30 felt easy, and now we're going 50, close to it. So yeah, I just want to keep pushing it. I mean, we have the setup and it's out there, and with my sponsors and Husqvarna support on that as well, and I'd love to see if I can get a little further close to that, see how it works. And also there's got to be money attached, but I think if a lot of people want to see it, and we can start getting some momentum with like putting it together. And if people like the movie and they like what we're trying to do out there, then, maybe we'll put together a festival and there'll be a payday, because I'd love to see what I can do.
Yeah.
And if not, then whatever, I don't have to do it, but it'd be nice to get a big payday and also kind of push my limits and see how far I can go.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm stoked for you, man. And I'm, to come from where you come from, of like sleeping in a van and working 2 construction jobs, and just to kind of get people to even to the point where they know your name, to now being like one of the big stars of the sport, and like in my opinion one of the leaders of that whole free ride kind of movement. I'm stoked for you, man. It feels like it happened to a good person, and I'm stoked that we got to do this too. We've wanted to do it for a while. I felt like you're a homie from a distance, but even though we'd never really got to like talk properly, and I'm stoked, bro. I'm stoked to catch up, and hopefully we can like make something happen in the future too, like to do some kind of film trip or something.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thanks for having me, man. Your show's awesome, and yeah, it's cool to catch up, man. We've been trying to do this for a while, so yeah, thanks for having me, and it's been fun on here, and yeah, we'll come back on another time, Try it out and keep killing it, dude. Your show's sweet. I love watching everything on your show, so keep doing that.
I appreciate it.
Stay in touch, man.
I appreciate it,
let's plan something. Let's do some trips or something,
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.